What's going on, basketball world? Your guys here from the No Ceilings NBA YouTube channel and podcast feeder here, and we're already kicking things off with a very special guest. First off, let me introduce to you all. I got Maxwell Baumbach and Jam Hines, the Draft Sickos. A little then, now, forever action for you wrestling fans going on. We have them, and then of course, very special guest James Barlow. James, how we holding up, man?
Good. Recovering from pod and after the first round that lasted forever. Trying to push through, man. But we're almost at the finish line.
That's right, man. That's all we can do. I mean, I feel like all of us have been. Everyone always like ask us, James. I'm sure you're the same way. Is like, oh, you got to be excited that the draft is here, you know. But I'm sure you got so much work going on, and I feel like the hard part's done. Now we just keep talking about the same things that we've been talking about pretty much all season long. I don't know if you're any different in that regard, man.
Yeah, I mean, I got to do the draft grades, and then it's like you get a couple of days off, and then it's summer league, and then but at the same time, like I've already started a 2027 board. I got notes on 2028, 2029. I mean, there's really no rest for the draft sickos, as you call it.
That's it, man. So, James, we wanted to ask you some questions. First off, just kind of recapping from day one, and then I know that we typically do more like a more formal thing, but we're here to cut up a little bit. So, Maxwell, Jam, you want to get in here, ask questions too? All welcome. But just overall feelings from day one, man. What's your biggest takeaway from how the draft went?
Even before that, man, I just love watching people fulfill their dreams and seeing like the families and a kid could be the number whatever player. He's been destined to fulfill this path for some time, and he still hears his name and it like kind of like shakes him. Like that's always a good feeling. That's more important to me than me being right or me being wrong. But as far as just the draft goes, I think guys for the most part, maybe like three or four, were kind of like threw me for a loop. But for the most part, like the draft ranges didn't really surprise me. I guess that makes me feel good about my analysis. But also at the same time, what can I not necessarily get better at, because the draft is just one phase of these things. I could be high on somebody, but if he doesn't get his second contract or doesn't look right, then I got to figure out what I need to get better at and vice versa. But I tell my wife, I'm like, man, look at these kids, man. This is great. Like this, I mean, this is me getting old. So, no, I love the draft for sure.
Were there any? I know you said it was kind of a chalkier first round, but even if it was a pick that people maybe expected, were there any picks? You talked about that second contract, right? Like so much of the draft is not just about the immediate, but the long road. Were there any picks where you just thought, man, that team got awesome value with that pick? Both,
I mean,
down the road or whatever.
I'm a huge Jaden Quains fan, and I kind of feel like if his knee is healthy, when his knee is healthy, I don't know how you're gonna score on them. And it's
Preach,
like
man.
Wemby can play free safety now, and he's already covering 15 feet in 2 steps. And then before that, you got to try to score on Stefan Castle, who's basically hacking the entire time. Understand that he's a physical. I mean, it is what it is. Like,
yeah.
Some guys get a more lenient whistle, and then Dylan Harper's figuring like, yo, I can hack too. So now you got to get by them, and then Wemby's there, and then like, okay, let's bring up Jaden Quains in the pick and roll. Okay, he can move when he's able to move. Like I had him as I believe 8th best player on my like big board, not my mock, but my big board. And I truly believe that if he's healthy, he's a top 10 talent in this draft. So I think they got better. You can roll the dice, and you still got time because Cornette has years on his contract. Who else? I really like what Chicago did, but they're gonna have to add another S to that slap, which is gonna have to be shooting
for sure.
You get slaps. That's what I kind of like about the slap picks, though, is it's like you can get spot up shooting cheap. You can't get 6'8" dudes that can handle the ball cheap. Those guys don't come cheap. Like,
I'm
right there with you.
Huge Dalen Swain fan. I've had him in the lottery for a very, very long time. And when I was working on my scouting reports, I'm like, man, this dude is good. Like handles, it just kind of like reaffirms. So I really like what Chicago did. I like what San Antonio did. Obviously, the guys in the top 10, they all got better. We all expect them to get better. It was a strong draft.
there any pick that not necessarily have you scratching your head, or maybe just like, I think I could have gone another way, or you thought there was a better fit out there?
The interesting pick, and not because he went as high. Again, I was a little lower on Bennett Sturts, not because of his talent, because of how strong the guard class was. If he would have went 21 to 23, that still would have been great because he's really good. Him going 16 was like, okay, it might be a little for me personally. I know people are higher on him, but then for Memphis to trade him to Oklahoma City. Now, me as a fan and somebody who wants to play, I don't want to play for the Thunder because where are you going to get minutes at? And it's like no disrespect to him, but today it's obviously SGA is going to do his thing. Jalen Williams is going to handle the ball. AJ Mitchell is going to come back healthy, right? Maybe Kaysen, maybe you trade Kaysen. He said he wants more touches. I get it. So is he insurance for Kaysen? Cool, but they still have Jared McCain. So it's like that's four guys who we know for sure are going to be under contract next year. And if they re-sign Kaysen, where are you going to get your attempts at? That was a head scratcher to me. Again, Sam Presti's always the smartest guy in the room. But that just kind of was like, I didn't understand that one. And you still got to trade Isaiah Joe. So like a lot of stuff has to happen for him to get on the floor. And you still got Nikola Topic at some point. So that was just interesting to me.
Yeah, I think those are really interesting ones. As we kind of turn towards day 2, are there guys on the board that you're particularly excited about or were surprised to see fall?
I didn't think Carrot Man was going to go in the first round. Again, 25 to 35. There's not like a ton of separation, at least to me. And as we see, 3 guys who, their agents got caught out last night. That was crazy. But Henry Vasar, Isaiah Evans, Malik Thomas. I mean, we expect to hear their names very soon. But at the same time, it's like, situation is everything in the NBA. You can go 27, 28. I'm not naming guys in particular, but you can go to those places and end up in a tough situation. First team or second team all rookie, Maxime Reynaud. I was high on him. My brother was high on him. Yep. He goes in the second round. Now you look at him, he was one of the better rookies. Everything is about opportunity. Austin Reeves just got paid today, right? And again, that story might not ever happen again to go from undrafted to a max contract, but he still put himself in position to make money. AJ Mitchell was a second round pick.
Second round, and it's funny that you bring him up too because it's like Dylan Jones was drafted ahead of him. And I remember we did a podcast after the draft, and I was like, I don't really get the AJ Mitchell pick. You just got Dylan Jones, and it's like, well, I was wrong, but
you know what?
Just proves your point, though.
I was like, Dylan Jones to me, and he needs the ball in his hands, right? And he's effective with the ball. You just Oklahoma City's a tough spot. And AJ Mitchell, I was like, I think Minnesota had a pick in the 20s that year. I'm like, why won't you take him? Like that dude gets to the rim every single time. Opportunity is it's everything. So, but those guys sliding, I didn't expect that to happen. And then also, I mean, just for the last part of that question, Jalen Brunson was a second round pick. Like sometimes it just you need the pathway to success isn't always a straight line. And, smart teams are going to make the right decisions. So guys are going to use this as motivation to get to where they need to be. Some guys are going to pick their destination. Hey, man, don't draft me. So there's still definitely value in the second round for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Keeping in line with the guys that kind of fell a little bit, like Cameron Carr, Isaiah Evans, obviously second round, still waiting to get his name called. LeBaron Philon. Do you think the NBA was kind of sending a little bit of a message about physicality and weight? You talk about Philon. That's a guy that I really like a lot. Had him at 11, but he falls in 176 pounds. Same thing with Cameron Carr, 184 pounds. Isaiah Evans, 186 pounds. Did you pick up on that, or you think it's kind of too early to make an assumption or read like that?
That's interesting that you bring it up. I didn't think about it that way. At least not for Cameron Carr. Yes. I don't really care that he's 180 something. I think Cameron Carr, he plays like a 3, but he's in a 2's body. But at the same time, the measurements, the athleticism, the stuff that he does on the court, I thought Toronto was going to take him at I believe it was 19. That made sense to me, right? They're a bottom 5 shooting team in the league. They need shooting. He can shoot. Grady Dick didn't work out. But at the same time, you mentioned like, okay, are we fading the skinny dudes? But like Keenan Wagner goes 5. And
Exactly.
his range was obviously 5 to 10, but he goes 5 and they love him. So it's interesting, man. Just the trends, like at one point we don't want small guards or point guards weren't this. How many point guards go in the top 10? So, but I think those guys. I think Cameron Carr is in a good spot because
Fantastic.
Lakers need. I mean, would you rather? Who do you have to fight for minutes on the wing in LA? Yeah, it's going to cost you some money up front, but while I had him like mocked to Toronto, like you still got to beat guys, So it's all interesting. Isaiah Evans, I think even if he had muscle, he's still to me just somebody who's like, what is he doing? He's not making shots, and that's why I was kind of lower on him.
Mm-hmm. Are there any like sleeper names that we could see come off the board that people who aren't following this stuff year round might be like, whoa, who's this guy that you're like, actually you do want to know about this player?
Let me do the shameless plug since this is like the cross promotion of
Absolutely.
WWF. Back in my day, it was WCW. My brother did a video on Jack Kyle. He's really high on Jack Kyle. He's really, really high on Jack Kyle. And I think he's somebody that, you might hear his name. Of course, even the diehards, you're gonna watch like, who's Jack Kyle, right? And then you should probably check out my brother's video if the ESPN might be a Taco Bell commercial and his name is Jack Kyle. Dylan Mitchell's interesting. I was really high on him a couple years ago. He just can't play he can't shoot, right? But if he ever learns how to shoot, he could be like Derrick Jones Jr. Very athletic. Just he's an athlete, long. I was really high on him. I don't know if he's gonna hear his name, but I like Robert McRae from Florida State. That dude is an athlete. He's I call him the power guard. I make up stuff. The power guard of the Bruce Brown mold, where he can do enough off of the dribble. He might cut. He might dunk. Like I really like those guys. The power guards, Bruce Brown, Gary Payton II. I'm a fan of the reformed 6'2" point guard that's a power forward.
I think McRae too could be like one of those guys where I feel like that's a type of guard that we've seen have a lot of success after like a couple years in the G League. Where even if it doesn't like click early, it's like it's kind of a guy you want in your system just because physically he's going to have a lot of stuff that other guards just don't. And then you can kind of figure out whatever kinks he's got and try and work through those.
Yeah, and then we just saw Jordan Goodwin just got paid. He's another power guard. Like
exactly.
You need those guys who, okay, we know he's gonna play very good defense, and we can just put him at the dunker. If he makes enough shots, he's gonna get out in transition. And like Robert McRae averaged like 6 assists a game at Florida State, so he might be even that much more of a playmaker. I know a team that really likes him, but I'm not going to snitch.
Man of honor.
Yeah.
Yes.
Stick to the code, man. I know a team that really likes him, man. We'll see if they make a move.
For sure. Well, James,
you got to live by the code.
Yeah, man. Got a code. That's what my man. That's what the wire people tell me all the time.
Well, we know you got to get out of here. But thank you so much for joining us. Check out everything that both James and Raphael are doing. They do phenomenal work. Check out the Kale video. Like they mentioned, just subscribe to their Substack. Pay attention to everything these guys do. They're some of the best in the game, and that's why we cross promote. If we thought they were bad, we wouldn't have them on. But
there's strategy in that though too, man. You want to bury the competition, man. But yeah, man, get these guys on the show, make them look bad. Nah, I know that's not.
Yeah, we really appreciate you taking the time, man. Hope you have as wonderful of a draft night as you can, and then you enjoy being right back to work.
Man, I ain't taking that, man.
Absolutely.
All right, man. Appreciate you guys for having me.
For
anytime.
Sure.
Yep.
All right. That was James Barlow. Make sure you check out everything that they have going on over at NBA Big Board. Both of them, again, phenomenal follows. Make sure you follow them on Twitter. Get subscribed to their Substack. Follow what they're doing on YouTube. The videos they're putting out. It's excellent stuff. We're now joined by Nick Agar Johnson. Nick,
let's go.
How are you doing today?
I am barely alive, which I think is about the general sentiment at this point. But I'm happy to be a super sub, show up, coach calls my number, show up for 10 minutes, provide as much energy as I have, and then hopefully Steven comes back at some point before I fall unconscious on stream.
Well, with Nick in the house, we got to talk Sacramento Kings. I can't be around Nick and not bring up whatever the Kings got going on. How are you feeling coming out of day one? Because it seems like this was kind of a great day one for the Sacramento Kings.
This was a very solid day one for the Kings, and I'm not sure what to do with myself because this is 2 years in a row that I've been pretty happy with what the Kings have done in the draft. Like, it doesn't make sense logically, but I mean, I'll take it. I mean, look, we've talked about it before, on air, off air, 1,000 different times, 1,000 different ways. Very few things in the history of the entire time that I've been covering the draft have been as telegraphed as Darius Acuff to Sacramento. So really, that was just a matter of if he fell there, that was going to be the pick. And unsurprisingly, on draft night, it was like, oh, the Nets pick is in. And like, I don't think the clock even showed up for the Kings. I think it was just immediate. Yep, pick's in. There we go. And then, the other thing that I'd heard over and over again was just how much the Kings adored Alex Karaban and how they loved him before he came in for their workout. He came in for their workout, and everybody in the building was like, we have to have this guy. We have to have a way to, And when we did our Intel mock draft, we were hearing rumblings that if he was still on the board, he was going to be one of the first picks. If not, I believe we had him as the first pick of the second round. So, it was a situation where that was clearly the guy. That was clearly who the Kings wanted. And if he wasn't going to be on the board, then they kind of had to do what they did. And a 2032 second and pick 34 is not a hefty price to move up into the first round and get someone like Karaban who, after picking Acuff, Karaban answers so many of the biggest questions that the team have. I mean, I've said it on many a show, but dead last in 3-point makes and attempts, 29th in 3-point percentage, and defensively, not much home to write about in a positive way. You bring on someone like Karaban with real size. Keegan Murray is no longer the only forward who's above 6'6" on the team. Rejoice, Kings fans. And you bring in someone like Karaban who has that winning pedigree, who has his incredible passing vision, who is this elite 3-point shooter. Concerns about athleticism, concerns about the on-ball defensive stuff. I don't mean to elide those by any stretch of the imagination, but the biggest problems that the Kings had heading into draft night, they at least certainly started to answer a couple of those pretty definitively with round one. So we'll see what happens tonight. They're still holding on to 45. They may buy back in. Who knows? It's the second night of the draft. Anything can happen, but certainly I'm pretty pleased with what happened on night one and not quite sure what to do about that.
For sure. And as you bring up that point, keep in mind for the viewers on stream, these picks might move a lot. We're going to do our best to stay on top of it, but there's going to be a lot of buying. There's going to be a lot of selling. There's going to be a lot of trading. Looking at the ESPN just like tracker right now, I think there's 4 total picks in the second round that have not already changed hands at some point in the past or just in the last few days. So expect movement. Bear with us. Sincere apologies in advance if we get the team wrong at any given point. As we head into day 2, and Jam, we haven't really gotten to pick your brain on this either, so I'll throw this to both of you guys. Who are some of the top guys on your board outside of the obvious? I feel like Isaiah Evans, Henri Visar, Malik Thomas, like those guys felt like ate up a lot of the conversation about heading into the second round. But are there any guys outside of those 3 that you're like, man, I'm really intrigued to see where this guy ends up?
I mean, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Nick.
Ryan Conwell has been my guy for a
sure.
lot of this draft. And he's the first name that comes to mind for me of, outside of the 3 that you just mentioned. I mean, I would say his 3-point percentage this year is among the most deceptive statistics in the draft because you just look at the ridiculous volume that he put up. He took every kind of 3 that you could hope for a 6'4" guard to take, right? He was running off screens. He was creating his own shots off the dribble. He was knocking down threes in transition, spotting up. Basically everything you could want a shooting threat type of guy to do, Ryan Conwell did. And his low percentage is almost entirely a facet of the games when Mikal Brown Jr. was out. And it was like, oh, so Ryan Conwell is the entire offense. It was like, oh, Ryan Conwell, 17 points on 7 for 14. Rest of Louisville, like 12 points on 4 for 23, right? And in addition to that, he's a really solid defender. I wouldn't say he's, spectacular. I don't think he's making any all defense teams, but he's 6'4", 215. He holds up like he's 215. He challenges people, right? He is not afraid of getting pushed on the defensive end because he will push back. And, I think a lot of the things that he struggled with in prior years, I thought he got a lot better on the ball this year, whereas that had been a real weakness for him heading into the year. And yeah, I mean, he's one of those guys that pretty much any team in the NBA could use. So I would be looking for him to be off the board pretty quickly as well by the time the second round starts.
Just to piggyback off that real quick before we get to Jam, I think like another thing with that 3-point context is that Louisville is one of the most prolific teams in terms of what percentage of their shots come off of screens and off of handoffs. So it's one of those things where it's like, it's great that he's able to make those shots. He had to take way more of those shots than a normal player would. So just the shot diet was so exceedingly difficult that, yeah, I'm right there with you. Jam, who's sticking out to you?
I love the Conwell shout outs. First of all, I talk about someone fits that 3-and-D role, still can put the ball on the floor and make plays for others as well with a 6'7" wingspan. Seems like he's going to be a great fit anywhere. Could be there for you at 45 there, Nick. So we'll see how that goes. Trevon Brazil's been a guy that I've liked a ton. I just love the tools that he has. Him being 6'10", the 7'3" wingspan. Probably the best athlete in the class. I know AJ has something to say about that, but he's certainly right up there. His ability to be a play finisher, vertical spacer, and space the floor and be able to block shots and defend the space too. There's a ton there for him to be able to utilize to contribute. And then another guy that I really like in the second round is Ugonna Oyenso out of UVA. If you're looking for a shot blocker and a rim protector in the second round, this is your guy. Just incredible timing, mobility, the hand-eye coordination, just real instincts for blocking shots despite not being this ridiculously quick twitch, explosive athlete. So those are a couple of guys that I like, in which I think is still a very deep second round despite NIL wiping out a good amount of it.
For sure. And I'm going to throw the super chat on here from Sumo Pockets 34. Hey guys, big fan. Do you think the Nets will hold on to their second round pick tonight? They need another big player, but this roster is very young. This actually leads me to the guy I want to talk about because I feel like he fits the Nets identity, and he's a bigger dude. He might not be big in terms of weight, but he's tall. Rafael Castro, 6'10", 7'2" wingspan, 225, out of George Washington. One of my favorite guys, like in that like two-way, like maybe give him a guarantee depending on your personnel type of range. Had one of the best steal rates that I've seen from a big man ever. He is so fast and so mobile. They played him in sort of a roamer role last season where he was getting into passing lanes constantly. He is a blur down the floor in transition, and he fits the Nets identity in that he's a guy who can really handle and really pass. They're all in on skill, and I think that he could fit next to a Daron Sharp, next to a Danny Wolf, next to a Julius Randle. If you need to plug him in with any of the bigs that they have currently, I think he can do it. Obviously, he's kind of on the slender side. Like there's reasons that you could have some reservations about him, and that's why he's available in the second round. But for me, Rafael Castro is the kind of bet that I'd like to make. I think there's like a possibility of a Paul Reed kind of outcome for him, is what I always say. So Castro is the guy for me that I'd really like to see slip in there.
Jam mentioned someone else already who I think would be an excellent fit for the Nets in Trevon Brazil. I mean, just, take that chance on, high upside, high athleticism type of guy. Potentially, there are some questions about the shot. There are some questions about his consistency in general. But in terms of bets that you're going to take at 33, I mean, I think there are so many different versions of Trevon Brazil that could work out in the NBA. And so if you're Brooklyn and you just need another big man on the roster, take that chance on someone who certainly when he's on looks like someone who should have been off the board a long time ago. And, there are days certainly when he's not on and it's less pretty, but the best version of Trevon Brazil is absolutely a long-term NBA player and one that would really help Brooklyn flesh out their roster.
There seems to be some good big man depth really in that second round. And I know they probably want somebody with a little more bulk, but you talk about Malik Brown. It's a guy that is just a ridiculous defensive playmaker, ACC Defensive Player of the Year, and come in right away. obviously doesn't need any touches. He knows what his role is. He can thrive in that and really contribute right away. And then on the same kind of lines of Rafael Castro, Isaiah Nelson brings similar things as Isaiah Castro, a guy that can defend in space, jump passing lanes, athletic play finisher as well too. So there's a lot for Brooklyn to really look forward to in that second round if they're looking for bigs.
Yeah, Malik Brown is someone who makes a ton of sense at a ton of different places. I mean, basically any team where it's like, hey, we just need someone who can, fill in gaps offensively and be this kind of defensive menace. There are a lot of teams that are just like, hey, we just need a little bit of defensive help. Offense is fine. And I'm not quite sure Brooklyn is there yet, given that they were the 30th ranked offense in the league last year. But, it's like we were talking about earlier with the Kings, where I was very happy with some of the needs that they addressed, and the defense is still a glaring concern. There are, the Nets are one of those teams where it's like there are enough things to be addressed that, like, maybe offense is a big problem, but you also got issues defensively, and Malik Brown can certainly solve a whole lot of those.
And we are going to bring in Tyler Metcalf at this point in time. Tyler Metcalf.
Oh,
how are you doing tonight?
Hanging in a little better than Steven, apparently. Goodness.
Yeah, poor guy. Yeah, Steven having some technical difficulties on his end. So we're gonna rotate in and out. We're gonna have some fun with it. But Metcalf, coming into day 2, what is on your mind with the NBA draft?
All right, I'm just being selfish and wanted to stick around for the Wolves and see what they end up doing.
Absolutely,
because there's some sneaky fun talent there that I was not expecting. Obviously, Isaiah Evans, Malik Thomas, Ryan Conwell, Henry Basar. Really, if any of those guys fall to them, I would be rather pleased.
If you had your pick of the litter, so to speak, like if you could pick one of those guys to slip through the cracks and end up on the Timberwolves front door, who are you hoping for?
Probably Malik or Isaiah. I think they just give that elite shooting with a little more upside. I love Ryan Conwell, but how much more left is there in that 6'2"? Like I would, if he was like 6'4", 6'5", a little different conversation. But I think Isaiah Evans showed a ton of growth as like an off-ball decision maker. I think Malik Thomas's ceiling with handle, playmaking, secondary creation is even higher. I still like him as a 2 guard, but I at a baseline, both those guys can shoot the crap out of the ball. So big fan of that.
For sure, a good trait to have. The broadcast is just starting to kick off.
Did you guys get to a Sumo Pockets question earlier? Sorry.
Yes, we did. Yep. Yeah. We just got to say, do you have a take on that one? If the Nets stick around, anyone you're liking for them? I threw out Rafael Castro. It's just
I like that
guy you can really handle and kind of fit their scheme.
I like that little funky with Joshua Jefferson. I gotta be better about that. Yeah, the second round's so weird. And I love Dylan Mitchell.
Oh, that's a fun one. Keep him local,
or even just like one of those, just a different big like Felix Okpara or Ugano Onyenso. Just get like an actual shot blocker in the building.
Yeah, it would be interesting because I feel like of their big crop, there's no real like feed lobs to guy.
Yeah,
and like I kind of wonder if Okpara or someone could kind of fill that role a little bit. Jam and Nick, your take on Nets at 45 if they stay put.
Go ahead, Nick.
I mean, Dylan Mitchell is someone who I've been all over the map on, from having him at, I think it was 5 before his freshman year to, all the way out of draftable range and then climbing all the way back up. And yeah, I mean, beyond sort of the hometown connection thing, I mean, he's just this hyper athlete who can fill in a ton of gaps defensively. And I don't know, it feels like I'm the last person that still had any Nick Claxton stock whatsoever, but I do feel like that is a defensive loss for them. And having someone like Dylan Mitchell who can be that sort of free safety type defensively, cover a lot of gaps, and then I mean, the bevy of young point guard/point guard-esque players in Brooklyn are certainly going to love throwing him lobs because he's going to be able to catch things that nobody in Brooklyn's been able to catch in a long, long time.
Yeah, there's not a lot of wing depth when you get in general, but really when you get to the second round, Dylan Mitchell will be a great fit of one of the very few wings that you can really imagine to come in and really contribute. But Felix Akpara makes a lot of sense there, just what he brings as an NBA-ready play finisher, the size, the athleticism at 6'11", 7'2" wingspan. So he's a plug-and-play rotation guy, I think, for Brooklyn.
Yeah, another guy that we haven't really touched on, but one of my favorite guys in the second round that's on the board is Tyler Nickel from Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Where I think he might be my favorite, like, guy who can just run into a shot and is like kind of not as terrible at defense and moving around a basketball court as most guys usually in that role are. Moving around the basketball court with the ball in his hands, not necessarily. The handle is very mundane, to put it politely, but can make quick decisions, hit shots, just knows where to be, really bulky, knows how to move his feet laterally at the point of attack. Like, I think he's a guy who can eat innings, if nothing less. Like, he was a guy who ended up in my standard contract tier just because you can have worse guys that you put on the basketball court. And Otiga Owe is the other one for me, where, like, I get it. Shots funky. Shots never been consistent. But in terms of just pick six playmaking, little energy off the bench, athleticism, it's like, yeah, I kick the tires and see if I get that shot like 10% better, get the handle 10% better, and then you got to do.
Yeah, I would love if we hold off talking about Otega Owe until it's about pick 45 or so. Just, throw a random selection out there. This is going to sound ridiculous, but I do have a point that I'm getting to, I promise. I think of Tyler Nickel in a similar way to the way I think about Eugen Onyenso, which is anything that they couldn't do at the college level is not something they're going to be asked to do at the NBA level.
Exactly.
You got to trade real quick. Knicks are trading pick 31 and 55 to Houston for 39, 53, and a 2029 Kings second rounder. So this is now Houston picking at 31.
Okay, Houston.
Fascinating.
Who are we liking for Houston here?
I think Isaiah Evans makes sense.
Yeah.
I think Emmanuel Sharp makes sense.
Ooh, Emmanuel Sharp feels extremely Ime Udoka.
It does. That toughness, the shooting, that not back down. You already know the coaching there in Houston with Kelvin Sampson. That makes a lot of sense.
I had heard a little Aaron Nkrumah buzz to Houston.
That's
trading up to 31. Feels like a choice for it, but go get your guy, I guess.
I think Kadir Copeland was the other name that we heard in this tier for them. Could be him. Another one of my favorite, like, you're a swing on a guy type of dudes where doesn't really shoot threes, makes them when he takes them, but he rarely takes them. But good handle, good athlete, good frame. Yeah, I think Copeland's one of those guys that, like, this is what the second round is for.
And the form isn't terrible either, He's a confident shot maker as well, too, So, and then at 6'6", the length, the ball skills, the playmaking ability, they need another point guard there, and you get someone there with size. That makes sense.
Jam, you got to see him up close in Portsmouth. Was there anything that stuck out in particular in that context?
Oh, he doesn't shut up. And I mean that in the most positive way. Like, he's always talking defensively. He's on the bench talking to teammates. He's talking to the ref. Like, when guys aren't making shots, he's just like, keep shooting. Or if they don't shoot the ball, he's like, what are you doing? Shoot the ball. And then breathing that confidence in him. So I really do love the intangibles that he brings.
Yeah, we are waiting on pick 31 as we speak. The broadcast is live, so stick with us as these picks get made. We will have our reactions to them. Coming up further down the pike, we've got Memphis, we've got Brooklyn, we've got Sacramento. We didn't really talk about Memphis day one. Kind of a unique strategy with that 16th pick. What did you guys make of that?
I mean, they got 5 future second rounders for taking the guy that they were going to take at 16 anyway, right? It's like, and I know that I was higher on Kareem than pretty much anybody, so I'm not going to talk too far out of my behind on that front, but just generally speaking, right? It's like, if everybody knows that that's your guy and nobody else wants him until 21, it's like, again, they picked up 5 future picks by literally just saying, hey, do you want your guy? We'll take him. No, please don't take him. Okay, well, give us a couple seconds and we'll think about it. Oh, and they got the guy they wanted anyway. They just got him 5 spots lower.
I just I'm doing like draft grades and stuff, and it was my worst grade of the first round. I hated the pick. But in terms of like working the board, Nick, like you said, and getting their guy +5 second rounders, like masterful job. Like they worked the board perfectly. I just would have rather had Bennett Sturts, Ibuka Corey, Christian Anderson, Alan Graves, Drayden Quaintance instead of 5 future second round picks. Like I'm pretty out on Kareem. Like I don't get it with him. I think the defense is a total disaster, but it's their pick, it's their evaluation, and they valued him really highly. So in terms of getting your guy plus assets and working the board, they did an incredible job. Just based on my evals, I would have much rather have gone with like 10 other guys.
I'm with you there, Tyler.
Don't hold back though, Metcalf. Tell us how you.
What's the point of doing the work if I'm not gonna, be honest about it? It's
There you go.
Yeah,
I hope I'm wrong. I hope he rocks. I really hope I'm wrong, so I can learn from it, because it's like a really cool moment for him, for Mexico. He's still super young, so I'm really hoping that there's like a massive leap in his development, like right around the corner, because he's strong, really good rebounder, like sneaky, crafty, and creative around the rim. I don't buy the shot. I don't buy the defense, and those are kind of tough sticking points for me.
Yeah, I had him at 38. Where do you all
you're
have
lower
him?
than me. Wow.
Yeah.
I think I'm in a similar ballpark, 35.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
30.
yeah.
That's 30.
Yeah.
Can I throw out
this?
a piping hot take about another guy who played in Australia this year?
Absolutely.
So with Malik Lewis, obviously he was not cleared for the NBA Combine. He had a medical condition that said like, hey, he's regulated this. He's since been cleared to play by the Fitness to Play Committee. I ended up putting him in my standard contract tier. Like, I asked myself the other day, during the finals, so a couple weeks ago now, like, who's the Julian Champagnie candidate in this class? Like, who's like the big tough guy with like a tiny bit of sauce that'll put up a bunch of threes? And I'm like, I kind of think that's Malik Lewis. Like, is that him? I think defensive, like off-ball positioning and consistency, Champagnie was probably a lot more polished coming into the league. But just as far as a pure value play, and who knows how teams are going to assess the medicals, like I can't speak to that at all. But he like actually ended up being kind of one of my favorite bets left on the board.
Yeah, I didn't get him ranked just because of the heart issue, and I didn't have any good intel or anything on that, and that freaks me out. So I like him as a player. In terms of the Champagnie shout, like, and I feel like there are a couple kind of fun names, like Jaron Pierre. Do anything for anyone? A little Cade Tyson.
Oh, I love me some Cade Tyson.
That's Max.
Yeah, guys who just like shoot a ton of threes and are tough, or like that's my type of guy. Cade Tyson was another guy that I put like super high in that like priority 2-way tier, because he again shoots a lot of threes, but he was a great finisher this year. Like I kind of buy it with Cade Tyson. I know he had a rough year at North Carolina, but like with every guy at North Carolina, I kind of like include a reverse tax, right? I guess a tax credit on their stock, where I'm like, that coaching situation was kind of a mess last year. Like maybe there's more to him than what we saw.
So you had Caleb Wilson at 1, is what you're telling us.
I had him at 3. So.
You talk about that Champagnie mold, that mold. A guy that jumps out to me a little bit is Keyshawn Hall. Depends how you feel about the shooting, but just with the size that he has, he's going to be in the glass like Champagnie as well. He's going to be a connective passer. Going to have to, I think, learn how to play off the ball just a little bit more. I think that's just a slight concern, but I love a lot of the tools, and getting a chance to see him when he was at George Mason, and then obviously getting to Auburn as well too. I think he has the potential to be a steal.
I agree. I think he's one of those guys where he didn't necessarily play like 0.5 basketball this year. Like the knock on him is going to be, it's a lot of stop and hold and whatever. But like at the same time, how many guys can actually dribble, pass, and shoot while having something resembling an NBA frame? Like I think, again, at a certain point, it's like you should hope to break the habits.
Yeah. How confident are you that he can like scale down? Because he's not going to be able to do that in the
Not
league.
super confident. Yeah.
Not very,
If it was, I would have had him like in the first round. Like,
yes.
I think it's tough because I was hoping that what we'd see at Auburn this year would be like slightly more connective with
Yeah.
like Pettiford still being there and stuff like that. Like I was hoping.
Just like a little simpler.
Yes, that's a great way of putting it. Just like a little bit more like catch and go. Like there's no catch and go. Like there's no, I'm catching, I'm doing a stampede dribble and I'm in the paint. Like it's a lot of like, it's time to catch it, time to call for a ball screen and cook something up. But he's way better at that than most guys his size. It's just like, that's not going to be what an NBA team wants you to do.
Was the roster conducive for him to be able to do that? Because he still had a lot on his shoulders. You
That
know,
was a weird team. Yeah.
yeah, it really was. And then Bruce Pearl leaving right before. So it was a lot, not to give him too much of an excuse, because at the end of the day, like if you are making slow decisions, no matter what your role, you're making slow decisions.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely fair to a degree. Like one of the weirder roster situations, probably nationwide, especially for a team that actually has a budget and has money and had like talent, but then the Pearl situation, everything else just made it quite weird.
Yeah.
I am hitting technical difficulties on my end. If someone wants to take over the ship for a moment.
Oh my goodness, what's happening? The crew is falling
Oh,
apart.
we're good. Norton Rad, this is a fun one. Norton Rad asks, is Chad Maker Mazara's rep 2 destroyed to get drafted? Like, look, you look at the stat sheet, it's impressive, but the guy's 27 years old, and I feel like I did not hear his name a single time throughout the pre-draft process, which is wild. Like, I don't remember the last time someone was that talented, and like I straight did not hear their name. Has anyone heard any CBM buzz?
No. I
Yeah,
wish him the best
not.
in Italy.
Yeah, I think just getting kicked off the team at USC was like the last straw for him. Like he just had too many incidents, I think. Talent wise,
love him at Panathinaikos though.
yeah, talent wise, I think he'd be in this mix. But yeah, that's a lot of stuff.
If he was, let's say he was Yaxel's age, if he's 24 or 23 going on 24 and didn't get kicked off the team, what would you do with him?
Did he still do all the other stuff? Before
Yeah, it's a long list. Yeah.
Like, personality's the exact same, like all the same shenanigans.
Oh,
But
can't
do
yeah,
it.
I can't do it.
I would. I feel like I give a pretty long like knucklehead leash where I'm just like I was a knucklehead when I was that age, so yeah, like he might figure it out. Like I feel like I give guys a pretty long leash for that sort of thing. So
It also
If it
depends
wasn't
the
something like-
situation.
yeah, if it wasn't something like every single stop, I'd be a lot more inclined. But if he didn't get kicked off the team at USC and just had like a relatively normal year,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
especially
what
if he was the Axel's age.
does they say about your shoes? If everywhere you go stinks, maybe check the bottom of your feet. I'm just saying.
Hey, that's a good one.
surely he's not the problem, Nick. No.
On the opposite end of that, who like any guys that are just like so high character that you're like, ooh, I'm kind of scared I didn't have this guy higher. Like I feel like Emmanuel Sharp was one of those for me where it's like that's kind of a scary guy to bet against. And I think Braden Smith is another guy we'd want to bring up in that same mold.
He's going to get drafted tonight.
And I'll slide Ryan Conwell in there too. That's another guy that like I've heard people absolutely adored having on their team and in their building. And I think those are guys where it's like, yeah, I don't want to sell those guys too short because I think they're going to maximize what they got.
Yeah, I have spent the last 3 months just slowly but steadily, continuously bumping Emmanuel Sharp up my board. It's like, do I really want to bet against this guy? Do I really want to bet against this guy? No, not really. Bump him up another 3 spots.
All right, we've got Mark Tatum at the podium. We'll have to see if this is a pick announcement or not. They had
I think he's just opening it up.
Yeah, and then they took that down. So I think it's just the opening. Norton Rad asks, any Robbie Avila buzz? I have not heard any. He's from Orland Park, so Oak Forest. So he's a guy that I root for. He's local. But yeah, I haven't heard too much. Wouldn't be shocked to see him end up in the G somewhere where teams just like try stuff. Could obviously make a fortune overseas if he wanted to. Big shout out on the Braden Smith interview as well from James R. Injuries there. We really appreciate that. And yep, Ignacio in the chat. Robbie's going to be a double machine in the G League. I kind of agree with that. I think
Yes.
and when I don't know, it feels like the G League is one of those things where every team is kind of doing it their own way. Like everyone kind of has their own different philosophy and spin and plan for how they're utilizing it. And I feel like there are a good amount of teams that are just like, let's play quick and shoot a bunch of threes and make it rock. And like I think for Avila, like in a scheme where he can just like grab a defensive rebound, make an outlet pass, and then like trail and shoot a three or make a sick pass in the G League, like he can do that.
He's almost the opposite to me of what I was saying about Tyler Nickel earlier, in the sense of like maybe the things that he's best at, he's not quite good enough to do at an NBA level, but like those guys always find success somewhere, right? It's just a question of, do you go the Drew Timmy route of like, I'm going to get my cup of coffee every year in the NBA and I don't care about, going to your league and becoming an actual star? Or is it like, I'm going to go the Jimmer Fredette route and just score 50 a game in China because that's the league where I'm going to get the ball enough to score 50 a game.
Something I want to touch on real quick. So someone says, I think Avila should go overseas. Like, I think this is something that I've heard from a lot of people in G League and college basketball, in the agency world and things like that, is that the calculus for going overseas has changed so much now that these guys get paid in college, especially to school like St. Louis, where I have no idea where Robbie Avila made, but I know that St. Louis has money. So like he probably made a pretty good chunk of change to play basketball there last year. Like a lot of guys that would have gone overseas in the past are now like content to play for the normal guy end of the bench G League salary. And I think that could lead to some really interesting changes in the G League in coming years.
Yeah, I mean, if the G League is no longer seen as the NBA minor league because the NIL has made college that, it's going to change the incentive structure for everybody involved.
Mm-hmm. And I believe the pick is out there on Twitter. I think we're going to wait for it to pop up on the actual broadcast.
Yes. No tipping picks here. Thank you to everybody in the chat who promised they
would not
tip picks.
Do not tip picks. This is the Houston Rockets on the clock. And let's see here. What else we got going on in the chat? Send your comments in the chat as well. Send any questions you got. We'll try to get to those. Mark Mitchell is tough if he can shoot. Oh, man, I really wish Mark Mitchell could shoot. I want to love that guy. So big, so strong, so physical, so smart. But
yeah, he was way bigger in person than I was anticipating. Like seeing him at the combine is like, oh, okay, I have to at least like put you in my top 100 because you are massive. But yeah, that shot is.
It's rough. It's rough. He was to your point though, like he was one of the 4 or 5 guys where it was just like, I had no idea you looked like that in person. Like I had no idea that I would constantly be like, who's at the 5? And then it's like, oh, that's Mark Mitchell. That is not the 5. That's Mark Mitchell.
Exactly. I saw him to start the year when Missouri came here and played Howard, and I was just like, whoa, like I know it's a different level than Howard and in SEC, but still like this guy is absolutely massive. And switch the jump. Maybe can he switch hands and shoot with the right hand? Does that look a little better than the left? Like, is that a possibility?
Can't look worse.
Yeah.
Who shoots first, him or Dylan Mitchell?
Howard's not like a tiny team either. Like
not at all.
I say some of those guys on the team, it's like they had dudes with like real size on them there.
Mm-hmm.
And we are still waiting on this pick again. This is a Knicks pick that has been traded to the Houston Rockets. Keep that in mind.
I do appreciate that they're not doing this in some like crappy conference room like they have in the past.
That was like abhorrent to me when they had this, like it looked like not even like the hotel lobby, but like the room that the coffee machine is in at a substandard hotel.
Wow. Okay.
Bruce Thornton.
There we go.
Wow. Thornton to the Knicks. My goodness.
Well, to the Rockets, right?
Or the Rockets, right?
Yeah, trading up to get him.
Fascinating. So my initial thought is, okay, like you're already a little bit gun shy about playing like Reed Shepherd at times. Mm-hmm. Let's acquire Bruce Thornton. I love Bruce Thornton. I think he's like one of the more interesting bets in the second round. I think it's very good value at 31, but like someone talk me through this from the Houston Rockets perspective.
The second part of that that's complicated. It's the Houston Rockets part of it that's complicated, but I mean, big guard, downhill, physical, built like somebody who's a multi-year veteran at this point. But I mean, you kind of covered the main point, right? It's like, this is not a team where, I mean, small is kind of unfair just given how much heft he has, but certainly height wise, we're in a situation where Fred VanVleet, Reed Shepherd, and Bruce Thornton, that is not the most size you're going to get out of a backcourt combo.
What do you think it is about the Rockets that they're looking for outside of Bruce, outside of his shooting? Because there's other shooters and shooters with size there. Do you really believe in the defense, the playmaking? I'm
guessing their vision is he's the next VanVleet. That would be my guess. I don't think I agree with it. I don't think he's necessarily that level of defender. My biggest issue with him was I thought he over dribbled the ball constantly. Like we were talking about, Keyshawn Hall, like not playing quick and making quick decisions. It's one thing is like an off-ball wing, but like it seemed like every time he ran the pick and roll, it took 15 seconds for a shot to get up or him to make a pass. But like really experienced guy, a guy who played like massive minutes basically from day one, super productive, awesome numbers. I know some people are really high on him. I was talking to a scout at the combine. He was like, this dude's going to get drafted early in the second, just like, because at a minimum, he's going to be an awesome locker room dude. Like not going to shake anything up, going to do exactly what he's asked. But then at the combine, I know it's just combine scrimmages, but whatever. Like when we saw him having to play like without the ball, like he disappeared. Like he didn't know what to do. He looked lost. He wasn't making an impact. He was totally ineffective. So I don't know. I struggle with it. And Maxwell, like you're saying, like you definitely can't play him and Reed together. My assumption is that they view him as VanVleet 2.0 though.
Part of me wonders if teams are so skeptical of the second round that they're just like, there's a finite number of guys that we will roster, and like, let's just go get the one that we think is good enough.
It's like, do we have a top 40 grade on anyone? And it's like, that guy, cool, let's go get him.
Yeah, it's not going to cost us much. Let's just go do it. Like, we'll move back on the second one for whoever we're going to stash overseas. Like, I kind of wonder if it's that. But yeah, I'm really just kind of baffled because it just seemed like they were so reluctant to play Reed Shepherd precisely because of the defense. And I get that Thornton is a thicker, heavier guard, but I think all those same issues are still going to pop up.
Yeah, and it's not even like he has like great defensive metrics.
Yeah.
No, and even in the scrimmages, like he was something where these guys were a couple of the small guards were like trying to pick up full court to be like, nah, well, you like what you see, guys, and like they would just kind of get burned when they try to do it. Like it happened to Braden Smith as well, but like he's like Thornton wasn't the only one. But some of those things where it's like if you're gonna do that, like it can be tricky. So yeah, I like Bruce Thornton. Yeah, sort of an odd landing spot, and a bit surprising that like he was the trade up and get guy, but maybe his stock was higher behind the scenes for the things that Metcalf mentioned, where it's like not a knucklehead, lots of experience, has a signature skill, and that he was one of the most effective 3-level scorers in the country year over year. Like the touch metrics are out of this world with him. He's long been effective everywhere. Great finisher despite the lack of size. Strong assist turnover ratio, even if he's not the most like advanced reader of the floor on the move. Like always shot the three well. Like there's reasons to believe that he can stick in the NBA. And in the second round, it's like maybe you just take that guy.
I will say I definitely didn't have him going ahead of someone like Malik Thomas, who brings very similar things. I thought maybe this would be a better fit if they're going to go a guard route. If you believe in the defense by Bruce and the shooting, obviously Malik brings both of those, and I think a little bit more scoring juice as well. So I would love to see Malik Thomas there if they were looking at guards.
Yeah, and now we got Memphis up on the clock. Pick is in at 32. Any thoughts on this one after their kind of funky maneuvering in round one? I feel like this could be a Vasar destination. Like you never know with Edey, like health wise, injury wise. It's like Santi light if Santi goes down or if anything happens to him. Like I feel like this could be the face art team.
And who are just like the out of this world analytical guys, where it's like,
Cashy Nat.
Is he officially in
Love
this
that call. Yeah.
Or is he going back? Is he like awaiting a waiver?
He was trying to get a waiver, and I don't think he can get it.
Okay.
Oh,
there we go. Richie Saunders.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
That makes sense.
That's a good one. Richie Saunders, by the way, a sneaky good statistical profile. When I do my deep dives on everybody, one of the last things I look at is the stat profile. Really good steal rate last year.
Mhm.
Very long defensively, even if the engagement can come and go. Long been a very high attempt rate, 3-point shooter guy who makes a lot of threes, but also a guy who like doesn't dunk the ball very often, but has really functional lift off of 1 foot and is very strong, so he can finish through contact. The 3D template is there. I was always a little frustrated that I felt like his feel should have been further along given how old he is. But again, I think this is a guy where if he's not hurt, you take him in the first. So like him on a potential red shirt in the second, I'm on board with it.
And the Grizzlies have had such a wonderfully strong track record with player health over the past few seasons, so that's certainly not a concern to be. No, I mean, look, that's really, I think that's the main point of it is if he was healthy, he would almost certainly have gone in the first round. And so if you're pretty confident in, whatever your medical staff reported in terms of, how quickly he'll be able to recover, how much of an issue it will or will not be going forward, like something that I think people need to bear in mind more often with the second round is like a significant portion / more than half of second rounders in most years don't make the NBA at all. Right. So it's like, if you're confident that this dude is an NBA player and you're getting him at 32, okay, maybe he doesn't come back till March. Maybe he doesn't come back till next year. Right. That's not the end of the world. If you get someone who you can bring in the building, sort of get a sense of what kind of pro they're going to be. And if it doesn't work out, not that much skin off your back. But if he turns into the player that everybody expected him to be before he got hurt, then you're getting first round value at 32.
Richie Saunders' grandfather or great grandfather rather was a tater tot magnate, which sounds made up, but it's true. And I no choice but to respect that because my grandfather was obsessed with tater tots when they first came out, and his nickname was Tatey because he wanted tater tots with like every single meal, and it made everybody insane.
So do we have to call him Colonel Saunders now? Is that the deal?
Yeah, Colonel Saunders. There we go. So Brooklyn on the board at 33. Are we going to see more dribble, pass, shoot? Who are the guys that kind of fit that criteria that are sticking out?
This is going to Minnesota.
Oh, that's right. This is Minnesota. Yep.
Yes.
This is why Metcalf is here, Maxwell.
Yeah.
I'm gone in like 5 minutes. So.
My brain is
the moment he's been waiting for.
Metcalf, who are you wanting here?
Isaiah Evans, Malik Thomas, or Ryan Conwell. Get some sort of
some shooting,
off-ball shooting, preferably someone who can dribble, because there are a shocking few guys on the roster who can do that. Turns out, important skill to have in basketball too. So,
who would have thought?
I think personally, I'd lean Malik Thomas a little bit because I do buy the defense long term. I think he has like some more like sneaky KCP type of outcomes rather than Dion Waiters. Hopefully we'll see, but it'd probably be Malik or Isaiah Evans for me.
Yeah, I think both of those could be very interesting. I'm also curious to know if the IO contract changes anything in terms of that. Like if that's a guy they're really invested in, if they almost shy away from those types of positions. But let's see the pick.
Isaiah Evans.
And it's Isaiah Evans. So how are we feeling?
Go.
I kind of had an inkling that's how they were going to go. I like it a lot. Ever since kind of seeing him in person for the first time at Hoop Summit and just seeing how much FU there is to his game and like how much confidence and competitiveness that he plays with. It's like, oh man, I'm a sucker for those guys. Like it's really hard not to buy in on those guys, like at least improving or kind of holding their own to some level. And then obviously as a freshman, absolute sniper off the catch, probably took more threes than dribbles, definitely more than passes. But then we saw the off-ball decision-making and versatility improve this year, not to the standpoint of him being like a playmaker or anything, but he was number 2 with a bullet on opposing teams' defensive scouting reports against Duke. And their game plan was contain Cam Boozer and do not allow Isaiah Evans to do anything. So I do think that suppressed some of the numbers. I thought the defense got a lot better this year too, just in terms of consistency. I like it. I think he's a really good player.
Awesome.
Do you think they try and find their way either back into the draft or via trade to get another ball handler with Evans being the guy?
I doubt it. They don't really have anything to trade. Like their assets are very, very thin. So my guess is, and they freed up a good amount of cap space. And I think they have like the full mid-level that they'll probably try and use for some sort of backup point guard, or maybe they go after Kobe White or someone like that in free agency. So that would be more my guess, rather than looking for a rookie to fill that need. Because like as good of a shooter as Isaiah Evans is, Finch has been pretty clear. It's like, hey, if he doesn't trust you, you're not getting minutes. And he doesn't trust many young guys. So I'm not sure it'd make a ton of sense to use future second round picks or whatever to draft another rookie who's just going to ride the bench.
How do you feel about his fit defensively? Because I feel like with you, I always want to pick your brain on anything defense related. I think like you were better than that than anybody. But given like the frame, he obviously improved on that end this year, but also Minnesota, like one of the more interesting defensive infrastructures. Like, do you feel that helps him a lot? Do you think it makes him more viable early? Like, what's your take on his defense and how that slots into things?
Yeah, I thought he showed a much better like commitment to that end of the floor, like doing the little things, defending high hand, active feet, being in the right spot at the right time. So I think with Randall shipping out, I think we're going to see a little more kind of scramble drill like we saw in the past before Randall was there, and guys kind of flying all over the place a little more. And I do think he fits decently well into that, because he's always had like a good energy and desire to defend. It's just the size, and like he's still going to get targeted, and he's rail thin. He's working on it, but we're getting there. Oh, there we go, Nick. Let's talk about your guy.
Yeah,
It's not my guy because this pick's going to Cleveland. So
Malik Thomas off the board for
They don't have it on the thing. I'm sorry.
Metcalf, we'll let you get back to the rest of your business, but thank you so much for
thanks for letting me
popping
crash those.
and
Have a
talking
nice-
to you.
Of course, good to
always
see
a
you.
pleasure. Pleasure's ours. So thank you very much for joining us, Metcalf. As we continue on, Malik Thomas finally off the board, one of the hot names coming into day 3 or day 2 rather. I was clicking the 3-box setup to just said day 3, day 2 of the NBA draft. Jam, your thoughts on the fit for Malik in Cleveland?
Yeah, they certainly can use someone that can catch and shoot and also be another secondary ball handler behind, obviously, Donovan Mitchell and James Harden. Just being to have guys that can continue to space the floor and are ready to play. Cleveland, they want to win right now. Obviously, they are in that mold, and Malik is someone that is ready to play right now. Or do you guys like the fit there in Cleveland? Do you see him getting some playing time, or is he kind of behind some guys?
So I think it's going to be tough for him early because they already have so many guards. But what I like about Malik, and the reason I had him a little bit lower, and I think what scared me about that was I think if it clicks, and I think it's going to take a little bit of time, he's got some kinks to work through. Like, this is a guy that could be viable in a playoff series because and the rim finishing is really bad. Like, he has to get better at his process in terms of like driving, serving the floor, using his footwork to get downhill, not shying away from contact inside. Like, there's all these flaws, right? He is a ridiculous off-ball shooter. And the Cavs have had a lot of success with guards who can like really shoot off the ball and then like bring a little something feel-wise on defense. And with Malik, yeah, exactly. And like with Malik, it's not going to be the traditional like how Ty Jerome or Craig Porter was used, where it's like super action heavy, but like he can do a little bit of that. He's always really rebounded for a guard. Like, even if the rebounding metrics weren't crazy this year, I could feel like his high school numbers, he's always really gotten after it on the glass. Like, there's enough that you can talk me into like long-term, even if I'm a contender now and I'm like, I might have to wait a little bit. Like, I don't mind, like, you saw what they did with Jalen Tyson, where it's like, I don't know how much we thought we were going to get from Jalen Tyson in year 1. And obviously he was like a little bit more older, a little bit more polished, but like, I don't hate putting Malik Thomas in the incubator for a year and just seeing where things go in camp.
Yep.
It is funny, though, how quickly this team went from like, oh, they have too many bigs. Oh, their front court is so overloaded to like, it's looking a little thinner than I honestly thought it was. And that was a pretty rapid change. And especially given the swirling rumors around Jared Allen and his potential long-term stay in Cleveland. I mean, this isn't a knock against Malik at all, but it is curious to me that it seemed like Henry Vasar made a lot more sense just given with how all board had fallen.
Yes.
But I mean, Malik is someone who, again, we had him as one of the top, guys for shout out to Rucker for putting that together at midnight last night for us to, have on the site this morning. But yeah, I mean, again, with Thomas, there's a lot to like in terms of defensive projection. He's also quite a bit bigger than most of the guard. Like they have so many guys that are between 6'1" and 6'4", and having someone with slightly more size is certainly interesting in that regard. It's an interesting choice in terms of what I would have presumed was what this roster needed.
Yeah, another team in an interesting roster situation is one that's on the clock right now in Denver,
Yes.
Who traded out of the first round in a part of the deal that the Spurs used to move up to acquire the draft rights to Terrace Reed. Denver now on the clock. Interesting roster situation right now. It feels like we've got some questions about the future of Aaron Gordon. There's obviously been depth issues there for a while. They dealt with a ton of injuries last year, but there were also some pleasant surprises. There were things like Spencer Jones emerging as like a really solid role player. Like, what direction do we think the Nuggets are going in? Because I feel like this is one of the teams where you're never in a bad situation because you have one of the at worst 5 best basketball players on planet Earth on your team. But it does feel like they're kind of spinning their tires a little bit the last couple of years. What are you guys looking for here if you're them?
Hopefully someone that can come and help right away. Trading out of the first round, you had, I think, several contributors right there, including the guy that they drafted for San Antonio and Terrace Reed Jr. as well. So someone that could potentially help them right away. You think about guys who could potentially handle the ball and take some of the pressure off of Jokic when needed, and then also space the floor. I'm not sure if this is quite a Braden Smith type of situation here, but someone who's just extremely smart. You can see him running pick and rolls with Jokic as well. That could be someone. We talked about Ryan Conwell could be a fit here as well too. So I'm very curious to see where they go. Does Dylan Mitchell make some sense if they lose Peyton Watson? Obviously, I know the shooting is not there with Dylan, but another guy that can get out there and just hound you defensively all over the court.
So the pick is in, and it is Trevon Brazil.
So neither.
Yeah.
There we go.
But fits in those boxes that you talked about, right? Going to bring activity, a guy who can search the floor a little bit. Nick, what is your take on the Trevon Brazil selection here?
I just hope it doesn't take minutes away from my guy Deron Holmes.
Yeah.
No, but on a more serious note, I mean, it goes back to when we were talking about Trevon before the draft technically started. In hour 1 of our stream here, where it's like the best version of Trevon Brazil is someone who clearly should have gone in the first round. And if there is anybody who's going to be able to set that dude up for success, it's Nikola Jokic, right? And having Brazil as someone who a lot of it is theoretical. The athleticism is not theoretical. This dude is a monster athlete at 6'9". And so, he's going to very quickly be able to step into the, hey, I'm the guy in the dunker spot type of deal. But if he irons out his shooting a little bit, if he gets a bit more consistent defensively, this is a home run pick for Denver. And it's one of those things where I might have been more worried about Brazil in a different spot, but him going here, it just feels like he can unlock the best version of himself pretty easily. And, whether it's a more minimalized offensive role, go after it on defense, or if it's, hey, we'll give you that room to sort of expand your offensive game a little bit more. I really love this fit. Again, Brazil is someone who has been up and down on my board for 5 years now. And, that's the consistency is why, right? And so if he goes to a team to get him the ball in his best spots, I love this for player and team.
Yeah, I think the other thing with Brazil that makes this selection a little bit interesting is like he got like 25% better at dribbling last year. Yeah. Like in the past, it felt like he can shoot an open 3, he can catch a lob and dunk, and there was like no real in between. Whereas last year, it felt like there was a lot more like I'm drawing the hard closeout, I'm doing a pump fake, I'm dribbling, I'm going to throw a fake pass on the move, and then I'm going to get a clean layup. Like it felt like a little bit more sauce in the best way. And it showed up in his assist turnover numbers. Like, older guy, a little bit more raw than you'd like to see. But like when you have those physical dimensions and you have enough of a jump shot, like there's always a chance. And I think that those little strides that he made this last year could be quite meaningful for him in the long run. Clippers on the clock now. This pick is okay. Yep. So this is still with the Clippers. Jam, anyone
for
that
10 seconons.
Yeah, I
anyone
know,
that
right?
you're liking for them? Obviously, they go Wagler day one. Guard room's getting a little crowded. You still got Kawhi Leonard in there. Conan Niederhauser going down to injury down the stretch after a really nice start to the rookie season for him. What are you kind of leaning with here?
Yeah, I actually had loved Trevor in Brazil here, but he goes one spot ahead. I think if they're looking at bigs, Ogano Owinso is right there as well. You talked about Conan Niederhauser. We'll see what he does health-wise, but Owinso can be a play finisher, obviously a shot blocker there for them too. I think Baba Miller's probably pretty interesting as well. Give them another, just an element they really don't have, but the guy that can bring some size, some ball handling, some feel there. The jumper, big question, of course, too. But if that hits, I think you really have a steal there. But his ability to defend the space as well, too, I think he'd be a really good fit for the Clippers.
Yeah, I'm with you. I feel like the big position is tricky because a lot of the bigs left on the board are like a little gadgety. Like it is sort of, you're taking a Baba Miller who's not actually a 5. You're taking a Rafael Castro who's like kind of skinny. You're taking and then Yenso who's like maybe a little bit limited, but he's really good at one thing. Like I feel like the Niederhauser injury is just like such a gut punch right now because John Collins is the most consistent decision maker. Like you could really use another guy that could do some like 4 or 5-ish stuff, just given the age of the bigs on this roster. When you look at Lopez, John Collins, like Isaiah Jackson's fine, but like we don't really know what he is yet. Like I think a little bit more depth there or on the wing would go a long way. But Kobe Sanders had a good year. You've got Benedict Mathurin. Like that's a whole interesting situation. Like it feels like this is a team that has a little bit of everything, but you're not like over the moon about any of it really.
Exactly. Now, Baysar still on the board. I forgot. I think it's a really good fit here. Give them a different element, the pick and pop. Very underrated passer too at 7 feet.
Yeah, I think Baysar makes a ton of sense here. That would be a great one for them.
Oh,
pick is in.
It's a name we said.
All right, it is Baba Miller. So a little bit of action and activity with that pick. A combine standout in Baba Miller. Jam, you've had eyes on him for some time now, watched him develop over the years. What do you make of his trajectory as a player? Because he's got kind of a point guard overseas, and then I don't think I would have expected him to be this player, but that doesn't mean he's bad. Like, can you walk through the development that he's had and where you see his game going from here?
Yeah, for sure. Came over to the States with a lot of hype from Spain. And then obviously it took a little while for him to get going at Florida State with the whole issue with him being paid for, I believe, for transportation for camp and everything. And he wanted to give it back. Yeah, and it's like, no, you can keep it. You're still going to be suspended and everything like that. So kind of a slow start there. But I love the fact that he just got better and better despite kind of the shooting taking a step backwards. And the big thing for me about this past year, he got better at the big man things. He was much more physical. He set better screens. He was on the glass more, a little bit more attentive defensively as well, and still gave you those things offensively as a passer, closeout attacker, even show a little bit of craft to the handle. And I thought that was just outstanding. And you talk about him at the combine, he got a lot of oohs and ahs with his play throughout the combine, just how fluid that he is at 6'10". And if a team really believed in the jumper, I think he would have been pretty much a guaranteed first rounder. Like I said, it looks good. The touch comes and goes. I'm not a real big believer in the touch, but I think if he can make just enough open shots, it's really going to have give him the ability to stay in the NBA for a really long time.
Yeah, when you look at the stat profile with him, 3 of the areas he grades out best are defensive rebounding, assist to turnover ratio, and dunks, which I think is like really interesting. Like he is prime grab and go. Like he will fly in on the defensive glass and we saw a ton of that in the combine scrimmage, where it was the one where it was in Yenso and Terrace Reed just like physically destroying each other under the basket and neutralizing each other. And Baba was just flying in, grabbing every defensive rebound, getting his team out on the break, making great decisions, finishing above the rim. Like, there's a world where I can see this working if there's like just that little bit of half court development.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think the big thing for me is what Jam already said. Of he got better at the big man stuff, and given the team option that hasn't, to my knowledge, been decided on yet with Brooke Lopez, they have one player on the roster who's listed at above 6'9", right?
Yeah.
It's Yannick. That's it. And so for someone like Baba, who, look, I mean, I'm not sure. In fact, I'm pretty confident he's not a center, given, he hasn't really been able, like, he's still 210 and he doesn't have the kind of frame where it's like, oh, he's got a ton of room to pack on extra pounds. But, a team like the Clippers, they need size pretty badly. And, with Miller, it's someone who there's the versatility defensively that you don't always get with guys who are, 6'11", almost 7 feet tall. And so I'm, especially given the development that he had at Cincinnati this year in terms of doing the interior stuff, right? Like, if he doesn't shoot on this team, it's not the end of the world. And so,
exactly.
They can, again, it's a similar deal to a lot of these picks where it's like they can take full advantage of what he does well and mitigate some of his weaknesses pretty easily.
Absolutely. And we have on the clock right now the Oklahoma City Thunder, who, like, I just kind of always assumed this pick was going to be traded, because how many roster spots can you realistically have at any given time? Well, I guess we'll start with Nick on this one, and then we'll go Jam for pick analysis. This time we'll kind of flip-flop the order back and forth here. Nick, what do you give the team that already has everything?
Yeah, I mean, that's the question with OKC is, like, whatever player you pick, there's going to be like 17 people in front of them, right? Just based on the nature of this team. And, if they hadn't gone with a Daimara in, at 12, then the big man depth would be the first thing that I would look at. And it's like, okay, so given that they just took Mara, are they going to take Vesar as well? Like, I think there are plenty of people who still have him as BPA at this point. And, it's not like he doesn't have this sort of dribble, pass, shoot parts of his game, but looks like the pick is up right now. And there we go.
There it is.
My guy, Ryan Conwell.
Ryan Conwell is off the board. Oh, man. Well, there's your, if you had to dump Isaiah Joe, I know a guy who does some Isaiah Joe stuff. And you just drafted him. It's Ryan Conwell. Jam, how are you feeling about, again, I know we just said it's going to be tough to carve out the face, but where do you think Ryan Conwell could potentially slot in here?
Yeah, as you mentioned, Isaiah Joe seems to be out of the door. We see what could potentially happen with Lou Dort as well, and Cason Wallace kind of stepping into that role. But Conwell, I think some things could open up for him. We'll see what happens with the rest of the guys on the bench, but he's the guy that's plug and play if OKC needs him, can defend at the point of attack, more so just ones and twos. I can't really see him defending too many threes, but he's going to compete and stretch the floor and is a no-nonsense type of guy. So OKC, once again, it's just like, man, they continue to get better and better and at the areas that they need.
I mean, I certainly feel better about my Conwell evaluation for OKC having picked him, right? Clearly I did something.
Yes.
Yeah. But I also wonder, too, it's like, you don't want to think this far down the road necessarily, but it's also like, well, at some point, what if they have to pay Jared McCain? What if they don't want to pay Jared McCain because they have so many players? Like, well, who's another guy that's 6'2", but also built like a fire hydrant and can shoot? It's Ryan Conwell. Like, there's just a lot of these things where it's like, you're almost going to have to continuously moneyball guys because how many, again, like you can only be paying for so many players at any given time. So, and this pick has been traded to
the Heat.
Oh, man.
We've always talked about Conwell as a Heat type of guy as well.
Culture guy. Yeah, like I said at the top of the show, like one of those guys that like you always hear like people love having him in the locker room. He's really strong. He's really physical. He's going to take his fitness seriously. So Ryan Conwell in Miami makes a good bit of sense in a team that might, need some depth after the Giannis trade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's just running through my head right now is the Davion Mitchell, Ryan Conwell, insert name, doesn't even matter, Giannis, Bam Adebayo lineup. Like, get anybody who's even vaguely competent on the wing defensively to fill that third slot, and you're not scoring on that team. And to get someone with his level of shooting versatility, with his level of on-ball and off-ball confidence to play alongside Giannis, I mean, those are the kind of guards you want alongside a 6'11" guy who's going to have the ball in his hands a lot.
Yeah, and like you just look at the rest of this roster, and like guard-wise, you don't have a ton of shooting. Like especially if Norman Powell's gone. It's like Pelle Larsson's like a fake shooter that gets closeouts because he's white. And then like, you got Davion Mitchell, you got Drew Smith, who's like an unbelievable action player on defense. You have Jameer Young, I believe on a two-way. He's like one of those guys that like you look at any advanced metric and like sneaky Jameer Young is like one of the most underrated guys perpetually. Like, but they don't have a guy that's just a guy who can act as that safety valve in the backcourt and just get the ball and shoot threes. Bulls on the clock at 38. Interesting because I feel like Thornton. Yes,
this is your team. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, Thornton was the hot name here, so I'm a little bummed that he's gone. Of the guys who slap, Otega Oweh is a guy who slaps size, length, athleticism, physicality. He's got it. If we can't go that direction, I wouldn't mind Vesar just for like getting more shooting out there. The big group is a little shallow. It keeps the Bulls really skinny, which I don't necessarily like. And then the guy who kind of doesn't fit any of this that I'd be cool with as well would probably be like Tyler Nickel, where it's just like we need shooting desperately. So like maybe just one guy who doesn't have the athleticism part of slap, but is just size, length, and physicality. Like we can maybe sub the A in athleticism for accuracy from behind the 3-point line and call it good. But those are the guys that come to mind. I also wouldn't mind Braden Smith. I know they have a million guards, but like I'm confident that's a guy that's in the NBA for a long time. Who are you guys thinking here?
Sorry, guy.
No, so real quick, you brought up the Tyler Nickel. I think another Tyler as a shooter, Tyler Bilodeau, makes a lot of sense too. Gives you the size as well, just under 6'9", 7-foot wingspan. Shot 46.4% from 3 on 4.5 attempts this past season. I think he could potentially make a lot of sense. And just kind of go back to Vesar, reunite him with Caleb Wilson. You already saw how well that 4-5 combination worked out. I know there's some physicality concerns with Vesar, but I think that could be a good fit too.
Yeah, and pick is in on this one. You guys are a little bit ahead of me, so Nick, I'll let you tell me who the pick is since you're ahead.
See, I'm slow too. I'm behind.
That hasn't gone for me yet, so I guess we're all behind.
All right.
Pick is. Oh, he's announcing some trade.
Oh, boo! Trade.
Classic. There we go. All right, Braden Smith.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah,
like I said, that's one of the guys I'm cool with. Where it's like, is this a guy that you could ever play in a playoff series? Like, I don't know, but like at a certain level, you just got to buy it. Like I remember talking to someone who worked for a team a while back who just made the comment that like every year you got to just like put whoever the smartest guy is in your top 40. Like even if they're not like athletic or if they're not like don't have positional size or whatever, just like put the smartest guy in the class in your top 40. And like there's a very good argument for that to be Braden Smith. Assist rate over 40, which you just never see. Dynamite off the catch. And he fits that like the archetype that I call the klepto caretaker, where they're just guys every year that overachieve their draft stock. And it's point guards who really shoot the ball, have a great assist to turnover ratio, and find ways to get steals on defense, even if they're not the best, like stay in front, move their feet defender. I think that's what Braden Smith is. So I'm on board with it. I think it's a good pick. Like again, anytime you get a guy that you know will like just be around the NBA in the second round, you can't really go wrong.
So he's just an app? Is that the deal here?
Yes. Yeah.
I love it.
I mean,
talk about. No, go ahead, Nate.
No, I was just gonna say it's hard to go wrong with someone who you're confident can do at least a few things at the NBA level, right? And it's like we're not quite there yet. I would argue that range is sort of once you get to 45 and beyond. But again, like the number of second round picks that make it to any length of NBA career is pretty slim, and especially what we've seen in the last 2-3 years is just the increase in the speed at which teams churn the bottom of their rosters, right? So, if you're confident in Braden Smith is going to have some length of NBA career, right? Be it 5 years, be it 8 years, be it 12 years, anything longer than, sort of a first contract. Oh, wait, we're seeing in the chat that he's been traded to Indiana.
Oh.
Okay. This was like the worst kept secret in the league for a while.
Yes.
Was that, like, the Pacers really were really trying to buy or trade in to get Braden Smith. So now Braden Smith in Indiana will sit under the TJ McConnell learning tree.
Perfect.
Thoughts on him in Indiana, I guess.
I mean,
It's a
makes
great
more sense
spot
than
for him to
Chicago.
learn. It certainly does. Like you mentioned, he gets a chance to learn behind McConnell and then also Halliburton. I would just love to be in that point guard room and just listen to them talk about the game, read the game, watch some film. That's going to be a really fun room.
100%. And I think, again, too, like, what I'm most interested to see with Braden Smith is Purdue was always so methodical that, like, Indiana plays fast. And I feel like I saw a lot of people go, oh, yeah, he'd be perfect there. He'd be perfect there. It's like, are you, like, I know it's another, like, small white guard, but, like, the pace in which him and McConnell operate, like, could not be more different. So I'm really intrigued to see how he adapts to the pace of the NBA, going from, like, a team that was slow and didn't really get out and run by college standards to the get out and run and pressure a team in the NBA. Like, I think that might be a little bit rockier, at least initially, than people expect it to be. But again, I think anytime you get a guy that is going to be around for a while, I think you just got to do it. What do we make of the slides of, like, Vesar at this point? Like, do we think, is this an Austin Reeves scenario? Is this a scenario of, like, let's just find our spot and tell teams no? Like, what do we make of this? Or is there something that we're just, like, not accounting for, or that we're missing that isn't available publicly?
I mean, I feel like there are a few more slots for him to potentially fall before I start getting into the, is this an agency thing? Is this a steering direction thing? Yeah, I mean, honestly, the one that confused me more than anything else was him not going to Cleveland. Like, most of the other teams in this range weren't necessarily as sort of weighted roster wise in a way that it really made a lot more sense for them to try and take a big, as Houston is now up. Well, I guess this is the Knicks, right, on the clock here. But yeah, I would be surprised if he falls too much farther. And Jack Cahill's the pick.
Oh,
all right, Cale to the Knicks, which I think this kind of fits what we talked about with the Knicks. So I'm intrigued to see what happens here, because Cale opted to not go to Gonzaga because he was like, basically, like, you're a baby if you want to go play in college. That's for kids. I want to play in the NBA. I'm not a baby. Goes into the draft being like, I want to play in the NBA. And the Knicks were a team that were, like, pretty expressive trying to get out. And now they take him here. Like, I kind of wonder, like, do they want to stash him? Like, are they rostering him? Like, I'm fascinated to know what the situation is there, given how hungry he seems to play in the NBA. Curious if you guys have any takes on that, and what I guess your philosophy would be in the Knicks organization at this point.
I would assume that he's going to get stashed, but like you're saying, there's a hunger for him to come over. But considering what their cap situation is and working the aprons as well, it makes a lot of sense for him just to stay overseas.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, at the same time, it's like he's in the green room. Like, usually you don't take guys, you know what I mean? Like, usually you don't get to take guys if they're saying they don't want to go there. So it does make me wonder, like, maybe he's a little bit more okay with it if it's that particular organization or something like that. But yeah, interesting move if they do stash. Obviously, there's all the apron benefits that come with trading. If you can't include cash considerations, you can always include draft rights. So it could be sneaky on that front too if you're the Knicks. And, like, I don't know, like, who's the better stash option that's potentially on the board at this point. So I kind of like it. Nick, I feel like Kyle was a guy that kind of snuck up on the cycle as it went along. Like, he wasn't a guy that was in mocks all year, and then all of a sudden, like, he's on everybody's board, and it's like, oh yeah, he's not going to go to Gonzaga. He's staying in the draft. What do you make of his game?
Yeah, I think this is very much a situation where the international class kind of snuck up on us, because shout out to our guy Ignacio, who covered this before we went live yesterday for the early portion of our draft stream. I mean, it's hard not to feel like this is a stash, just, going back to the Knicks portion of it for a moment here, just given the state of their roster. Certainly, I would be happier to be stashed by a team that just won a title than being stashed by pretty much any other team. So there is that element of it. But I mean, with Kale, he's 6'5". He's, not got the heaviest frame at this point, but he kind of plays like he's, already a little bit bigger than he is at this point. Really loves to attack, loves to get downhill. Questions about the shot sort of in the longer term. I don't know. I mean, I was slightly lower on Kale than this, but certainly in terms of what the international class looked like, this was about as sensible a stash option as you were going to find. So yeah, I mean, not surprising given sort of how the board is shaken out here, but we'll see. I mean, the Knicks at this point have a full NBA roster worth of draft rights guys, so maybe they'll bring some of them over at some point.
And we have Dylan Mitchell to the Boston Celtics at pick 40. Fascinating one. I think part of me wonders if the success of Hugo Gonzalez has almost not like changed their draft philosophy or anything like that. It seems like they've always liked, and Jordan Walsh is like another example of this. They like these like big physical guys, especially if there's like a work ethic and a motor behind them and a level of basketball feel. And part of me wonders if they see Dylan Mitchell maybe being able to slide into the role like Josh Minott played to a degree a year ago, where it's like crash, get out, run. Hopefully he can shoot enough. But I just think the bench in the NBA is changing. Like, I think when people talk about bench players, people are still like, oh yeah, you can get this guy, he can come in and score a bunch of points. And it's like, I think most teams go to the bench for like energy, rebounding, defensive playmaking, like those sort of things. And that's what Dylan Mitchell is going to give you. Jam, let's start with you. This feels like a big zag in a way from a team that was like we're going to shoot 1,000,000 threes team to now kind of, they took Sinak in the first round. So it's obviously they're not totally against shooting, especially from the big position. But what do you make of this sort of philosophical shift where we see them going, Jordan Walsh, Hugo Gonzalez, like not guys that necessarily fit the, like, we're going to take 1,000,000 threes thing?
Yeah, it's definitely very interesting, especially as you mentioned, this team is looking for that pass, dribble, shoot skill set typically. But then they go in the mold with Dylan Mitchell, and he can come in and defend multiple positions, just absolutely be a wrecker and a disruptor out of there. And I think they feel like they have enough shooting no matter what they do when he's on the floor, to where it's not going to be that huge of a deal. Like, he's an active cutter as well. There are ball skills to work with, decent passer. And he'll be on the glass as well too. And I think he really helped himself at the NBA Combine, despite still not really shooting well, but flirted with triple doubles, showed that he's willing to do a variety of different things. So I really like this pick. It gives them assurance in case anything happens with Jordan Walsh or Hugo Gonzalez if they end up being in the deal somewhere. So I do like the pick.
Yeah, Jam, I think you hit the nail on the head. This is a situation where Dylan Mitchell desperately needed to go to a team that could have everybody but him shoot. and he got that, right? And again, it's one of those things where, I've said it 7,000 times already, and I'll probably say it 7,000 times more before we wrap up tonight, right? There are so many of these guys in the second round barely get to play at all, right? And so if it's someone who comes in, fills an obvious need where you can take advantage of what they do well and minimize what they can't do, so it doesn't matter as much. That's a huge win. And I think Dylan Mitchell is absolutely an NBA player. Great pick at 40.
Yeah. And
speaking of my guys.
It is Otega Owe, and I believe this is currently routed to the Oklahoma City Thunder.
It's interesting. He doesn't strike him as an OKC type of guy.
Yeah, so talk about Jam. Let's elaborate on that, and then I'm curious of can you see him carving something out, maybe giving them a little bit of a different identity in some ways?
For me, he talked about what you talked about. For me, like his role and what I envision, he's a scorer. Like that's what he likes to do, a tough physical scorer and shot maker. The defensive tools are there. Like he's yoked, he's long, he's athletic. So I'm wondering if they believe they can bring out those defensive tools with him and kind of within that culture, because that was really my biggest hang up. or the team going to allow him to come in and be a scorer and kind of just really do his thing? Or can he buy more into a defensive role and be able to carve himself out that way while still be able to contribute offensively? So I'm hoping that's the route that they're trying to take with him.
And we have a big trade that has some draft ramifications, but not a ton. It is Isaiah Stewart traded to the Memphis Grizzlies for 3 future second-round picks, with Shams noting that his salary, the Pistons will clear his salary, some more cap space for them, and the Grizzlies get a rugged 25-year-old player in the front court. Very interesting. Beef Stew and Cam Boozer, not guys I would want to have to physically compete against
No way.
any night ever, personally. Or Zach Edey, throw him in there too. That's not a fun night if you're a guy who's getting screened. Interesting. Very surprising from Detroit. What do we think their plan is for the front court position going forward? I mean, you got Duren up for an extension. Like, what's going on?
I'm not sure. I mean,
Yeah.
Me either. Yeah, I'm trying to get my thoughts together. I don't know either.
the only thing I can think of at this point is exactly what you just said of what an absolutely miserable night it is going to be to try and compete against that front court on a day in, day out basis. And in terms of, like, you know, they've gone away from it and gone back to it and gone away from it and gone back to it. But the grit and grind identity of the Memphis Grizzlies, there are a few people in this world who have Isaiah Stewart levels of grit. And so that is absolutely not going to be a problem in terms of a cultural fit, but it does leave a lot of questions for what is Detroit doing with their front court, because, you know, certainly after, you know, and I don't want to chalk anything up to someone have a bad first playoff performance and therefore they're never going to be that person again. But also it's like, you know, I would not have expected the Isaiah Stewart move to come now. It almost, like, it's one of those moves where I feel like it's only happening because something big is about to happen in the aftermath.
Yes.
But very weird timing.
Yeah. Well, it's just odd because I feel like when people talk about, like, the free agent market, it's like, oh, Trae Young. And it's like, oh, Trae Young extended. Oh, Austin Reeves extended. It's like, well, Jalen Duren. It's like, okay, well, he's already on that team, so it's not him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just feels like, I'm like, what are these dominoes? I'm very confused.
I would thought it would be Hero, like, pre the Giannis trade, hopefully, because they had interest in him, but obviously he falls into that category. It's not him, at least right now.
Could they be a Miles Turner destination?
Oh,
I don't even know if I'd like rather have my. At
the expense of Beef Stew. I don't think right now.
Yeah, that's a fascinating situation that we will continue to monitor on this broadcast. But yeah, the Grizzlies now have so many funny, just like miserable lineups to compete against, whether it's like Edey or Stewart, Boozer, Coward, Cam Spencer, Scottie Pippen Jr. Like those like kind of lineups are just like so funny to me, where it's just like that is going to be a horrible experience for everyone on the other side of the floor. Spurs on the clock went very big on day one, acquiring Jaden Quaintance at 20 and Terrace Reed with the 26th pick. And if I'm not mistaken, this one is still theirs, or is this one of the picks that went to Denver? I believe this is the Spurs pick, correct?
As
it
far
looks
as
like
I'm
it
aware,
is.
Okay. A couple names that we'd heard in this range. One was Malik Brown, which now I'm like, if I got Jaden Quaintance, do I want like old discount Jaden Quaintance? I don't know. You know, there's worse guys that you could pick, but I'm kind of still looking like shooting here. Like I'm still looking nickel. I'm still looking Cade Tyson, Tyler Bilodeau. Like those kind of guys are interesting to me. I can even see like a Jacoby Gillespie just to get some shooting out of the backcourt. Like I think there's a bunch of different ways that they could approach this one. As Mark Tatum approaches the podium, Nick, who do we have?
Pick is Jacoby Gillespie.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, shooting out of the backcourt. Jam, a guy that we got to see have some killer games at the NBA Combine. What's your take on Jacoby Gillespie here for the Spurs?
Yeah, it was one of the best performance at the Combine. I thought really, really helped himself. Was fantastic at Tennessee. I know the shooting took a dip back, but I still thought the volume was there, and he was still just taking a lot of tough shots considering the roster construction of the team. But someone I also got to see a lot during his time at Maryland, but he is a backup guard with the play with pace. He plays both ends, so pressure at the point of attack, getting the passing lanes as well too, and just a phenomenal shooter off the bounce, catch and shoot. I think he can play alongside any of the guards as well too, because his ability to shoot, run second side, pick and roll as well. So the Spurs just continue to have an incredible 2 nights.
Nick, I feel like Jacoby Gillespie's like not a guy I've gotten to discuss with you specifically. Like, what do you make of his game? How much do you worry about the size? And then conversely, like, how much do you value the possession battle stuff that he's bringing to the table with his speed?
Yeah, I mean, I'm so much less worried about the size of the other teams, which,
Yeah.
you know, is
Yeah.
part of the battle, right? It's like, okay, you know, he's going to a spot where, and like, I do very much value the possession battle stuff when it comes to the defensive end. And it's one of those things where for a guard with size concerns, like there has to be, you know, either you're just one of those guys where it's like, okay, we're going to score 150 and they're going to score 140, or you have to bring something to the table that is helpful defensively. And yeah, I absolutely buy the chaos creation, the turnover generation with him. Jam, I'm with you. I think he's a better shooter than he showed this past season at Tennessee. And certainly he's going to get, you know, more openings on the San Antonio Spurs than he did at Tennessee last season. So yeah, not the pick I would have expected, but I think they're, you know, the more I think about it live on air here, the more it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that really stuck me seeing him in person was just how quick that guy is. Like,
Oh yeah.
when you are a shorter guard in the NBA, like you still need to have some way physically that you can win. Whether that's like the Fred VanVleet bowling ball physicality or something. And for Jacoby Gillespie, it's his quickness. Like he's a guy that he'll move the ball and then the attention to detail is so strong with him. Right? He will just bolt into his next action. And it is so fast. And it is exceedingly difficult for defenders to keep tabs on him. And, you know, it's funny to look back at it. You mentioned like this is one of the best spots for him in terms of having size around him. That was like the rationale that people were using for like picking Rob Dillingham over, you know, guys like Stephon Castle in that draft class. And, you know, I think in hindsight, they made the right choice. Yeah. But it's something we haven't really seen them go to. Like we haven't seen them go like offensive dynamo guard and like try and deal with it. You know, try and deal with this with our offensive firepower, and then we'll live with what you can do on defense because Victor Wembanyama is behind him. So I'm really intrigued to see how that experiment works. Nets on the clock with pick number 43. It'll be interesting to see if the Vassar side continues, if they go with another jumbo playmaker of sorts here. Let's see what Brooklyn is doing.
Survey says
it's time to get them a big man. We'll see.
Oh, big-ish. Tyler Bilodeau.
Big-ish, yeah.
Okay. One of the best three-point shooters in the class, shot over 46% from three, which guys don't usually do. That's a pretty abnormally high number. Nick, what was your scouting journey like with Bilodeau? Because I feel like Bilodeau was one of those guys where I was like, oh, nice kind of old school throwback game, but like not an NBA guy. And then like as the year went on, it was like, oh, never mind. So
yeah, he did not make it onto my board until after the wave of withdrawals. And I think part of that is just I'm a bit worried about most of the things outside of the shooting, but I mean, ultimately, you know, there is the, you know, it goes back to one of the things I've been talking about all night in the notion of, hey, if you think this guy is an NBA player, might as well take him, right? And with Bilodeau, it's like, okay, the size and the shooting almost on their own are enough to give him a case, right? And so, you know, admittedly, he was someone who I came around on late just because I was worried about some of the other stuff. I mean, for a player who's going to be playing the role that he's going to be playing, I would like for him to be a better passer. I would like for him to be a better connective piece. I mean, honestly, on both ends of the floor, but when you shoot 46% on that kind of volume at 6'9", someone's going to take a look.
Yeah, and we've got San Antonio back on the clock. Jam, as we are going into this next pick, What do you make of a guy like Tyler Bilodeau, where it is so like there's clearly this elite skill, but like questions about the other areas? Like, do you think there's a room for specialists, or do you think his size gives him a better avenue than some of those players? Like, where are you at, I guess, with this type of player philosophically, and then your thoughts on the pick specifically?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm still good with this type of player philosophically. I think you want to take the Sam Hauser mold, someone who is just a tall shooter, will give effort defensively, and there's some tools to work with. And with Bilodeau, obviously, he is an incredible shooter, a 6'8.5" to 7-foot wingspan, the broad shoulders, the long arms. He lacks the athleticism, obviously, but you're hoping that he can utilize the rest of those tools just to keep up defensively while being a absolute lights out shooter, be able to attack closeouts. So I think I'm hoping that he's looked at some Sam Hauser film, if they get that, his camp gets that to him for him to study.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's a chance when you're that long, and I think, like you mentioned too, that the wingspan I think is so interesting with him, because usually with these guys that can really shoot, it's like +1 dead even, or even a negative wingspan. And with Bilodeau to have like a mega plus wingspan and be able to shoot it like that, it makes him quite a bit different, and it gives him meaningful paths to find success that other guys don't have. And if you're concerned about the playmaking, like this is one of the teams that will simplify that for him in a way that few others will. Between Yegor, Michael, like Danny Wolf, Day'Ron Sharpe, like there's so many guys on this team that have so many different ways to get him the ball, and he won't have to do very much with it. So I think the fit, even if this isn't like a contending team or a team that, you know, it's not Oklahoma City in terms of number of guys that can create offense, but there's still enough guys. Going into pick 44, this pick is still with the Spurs. Kind of running out of roster spots, it feels like at this point. Again, it's one of these where it's like we're probably talking about a guy who's going to be a two-way or somewhere in that range. But anybody that's kind of striking you for San Antonio?
Nick, anybody coming to your mind?
I mean, the first thought I had was just you can never have enough shooting, and a lot of the shooters are off the board. But you know, Nick Martinelli is someone who I came up on late, not too crazy, but you know, this is definitely sort of the range where he might make sense. You know, someone's got long history of being able to knock down shots. I do wonder if, I don't know. I mean, I feel like there are also a couple of guards left on the board who might make sense for them. I do wonder what they might think about someone like Amila Suzan, right? Just, you know, pretty high floor, maybe, you know, not the highest of ceilings either, but can come in, be a third, fourth guard for a team, you know, knock down shots, make plays, that sort of deal. But yeah, I mean, it's the same. I have the same answer to when you asked me this question about OKC like 10 picks ago at this point, right? It's like, well, you know, the thing I was wondering about before they came into the draft was who are they going to have to fill out the big man spots? And it's like, okay, well, Jaden Quaintance and Terrace Reed is a pretty good answer there. So like, you know, I've been looking at, and you know, the whole team talked about this as well, the notion that Malik Brown would be someone who
he's
might be the pick there. But is that still the case? Like, maybe it wouldn't be like, I certainly wouldn't mind picking up Malik Brown for them. I certainly wouldn't mind him. Yeah. I'd be perfectly happy if he happened to fall a pick later, just, you know, to throw a completely random notion out there. But yeah, it feels like based on how their draft has gone so far, it might not be another big.
I think Aaron Necroma here is like my favorite, just ridiculous pick of just like another guy who's just going to steal the ball all the time. Pick is in. Nick, who do we got?
We have another trade announcement.
Oh,
and then,
of course.
Yeah.
Oh,
Malik Brown. There we go.
Okay.
That's the pick anyway.
Okay. So yeah, this is a name that's been linked to them for a while. Malik Brown, a 6'8" gadget playmaking forward of sorts, is one of the guys who is near the top of my two-way range of my board. A guy who gets a lot of steals for a forward in a way that you don't often see. He gets out in transition a lot. He finishes above the rim a lot. He is a very smart decision maker on offense. The cons are he is an absolute non-shooter who's a bit skinny and undersized to play the 5, total hack-a-shack target, and a very low just like points per 100 possessions guy. Like it's a guy who is such a non-threat to score that you don't usually see those guys stick. But if you're going to, you probably got to be really good at all the other stuff, and Malik Brown is. We'll go with Jam to lead on this one. Jam, with Malik Brown, how big of a deal is the lack of a shot? Like, do you think this is something that can be swung? Is it something he will succeed without? Like, where are you at on that with his projection?
I've gone back and forth. There were times where, like, early, the shit's like, oh man, there's something here. There's a little bit of touch. The form isn't terrible. It's not great, but it's not terrible. And seeing him at the combine too kind of went with that. But I can't really bet on the shot. And at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to hurt him too much, especially with San Antonio. It's like, go in there and be you, man. Be a disruptor defensively. Use those ridiculous hands on and off the ball and passing lanes, and just rebound and be a play finisher. So I really don't think the shooting is going to affect him too much.
Yeah. Nick, where are you at with Malik Brown? Because if I'm not mistaken, I think you liked him quite a bit. Like when we do mocks throughout the year, like where do you ultimately sort of settle with him? And what do you think of him in this context specifically?
I mean, I had him slightly higher than where he got picked. Not too much, like, early 40s was where I had him. And I mean, part of the reason that I was hoping that he might fall one pick further to the Kings is because of the defensive value that he provides, right? And that's that's a weak point for a number of teams, but certainly with the Spurs, I mean, again, it's one of those things where, hey, just the rich get richer, just add more defensive versatility and just that kind of athleticism to a team that already has plenty of it. But looks like the pick is in for the Kings, and we're about to find out how sane I'm going to be for the rest of the broadcast.
Yeah. Let's have you cook on this. Let us know who it is, and then give your thoughts right away as our resident Kings expert.
Okay, the pick is Emmanuel Sharp, and he is one of the highest guys remaining on my board. So I'm perfectly happy with this in that regard. I mean, definitely provides the defensive value. Provides the maturity, the winning pedigree that certainly Alex Karaban is another player in that sort of vein of just long-time winner for one of the best programs in college basketball. The Kings have like 7 guys who are combo guards in this 6'3" to 6'5" range. So in that sense, it's a bit strange to me, but like, unless they were taking Vesar, I don't know who the big was, and they're fine at center too, right? It's more just the forward spots, and that's what we've been talking about with this draft for a while, right? That the wing depth is not there. And so, there weren't any wing E guys really left that I guess they thought made sense for them. But yeah, I mean, I had Sharp 39 on my board. He's someone who was clearly, in my mind, one of those second round guys where I think this guy's an NBA player, and, we'll see how long of an NBA player. And I'm not sure he gets to be more than like, 7th, 8th man type, but shooting and defense, right? Those are the 2 most desperate needs for the Sacramento Kings. And yeah, he doesn't have the positional size that I might have liked, but there aren't many players on the board in this range who have the kind of positional size that I would have liked there. And so get someone who's, incredibly high floor, excellent defender, real leadership kind of player, can shoot the ball. Yeah, I love the pick.
Yeah, I think this is one of those ones where I think it was always going to be slightly context dependent with him, because he's a off-ball guard who doesn't have much of a handle, but like, boy, can he shoot. And like, I think I put him in like one of my scouting notes. It's just like, he basically lives in his guy's jersey. Like, I've never seen anyone who isn't fouling be that up on somebody. It's like, I don't know where you'd whistle a foul here. Like, he's actually doing it in an ethical way, strangely. Like, I really like how this guy guards the ball. And like, this might be one of those guys where if you just look at the defensive playmaking numbers, like, why are they talking about this guy like this? And I just don't think there's anybody better at smothering the ball or chasing people around actions at the guard position than Emmanuel Sharp in this class. So real offensive concerns. But again, if you have a Darius Acuff, like, the not dribbling stuff might not matter at all.
Yeah, I think Darius is going to be perfectly happy to dribble the ball. And, I think however long DeMar DeRozan sticks around, I think he's going to be perfectly happy to dribble the ball. Malik Monk is going to be perfectly happy to dribble the ball. Like, the problem with the Kings was not guys who wanted to shoot, right? The problem was the connectivity between all of them, and a lot of connective stuff in a good way for Emmanuel Sharp. But pick is in for Orlando, traded to, I don't even remember at this point, and it's Felix Okpara, who, if I remember correctly, we had mocked to Orlando at 46 on our Intel mock.
Good work, team.
Not
Good
too
work.
bad, yeah.
Good work all around, everybody. Yeah, Okpara, a very interesting one. Where like one of the things I wrote about this with Ariel Hikporti a few years back, but like at the base level, the two most common traits among bigs who end up succeeding in the NBA in terms of just like staying on a roster, not necessarily like providing positive impact, but just like, are you a big who hangs around the NBA or are you not? Do you finish at the rim? Do you stop other people from finishing at the rim? And when I did Okpara's final statistical dive, I found out that the areas where he ranked out exceptionally well compared to long-term NBA players were finishing at the rim and stopping opponents from finishing at the rim. Is he a good decision maker? No. Can he put the ball on the floor? No. Does he frustratingly not get into position on the defensive glass quite a bit because he leaves his feet a lot on defense? Yes. But, like, I don't know, a guy like Moussa Cisse was picked up on a two-way last year, and it's just like, wow, that guy's really tall. He plays really hard. He knows exactly what he is, and he can just go out there and play in an NBA game. And that's Felix Okpara. And intel I've heard on him is really positive. I heard that this was sort of his range a few weeks back. I thought it made perfect sense. People have been around him say positive things. Good value at 46 when you're getting a guy that you can just throw out there and do the big man stuff. Jam, what are your thoughts on Okpara?
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Maxwell. He's know what his role is, the clear role, finish at the rim, block shots, protect the rim. You do that with positional size and a good, strong frame, So I'm looking forward to the value that he can bring here.
Yeah, and then up next on the clock, this is a pick that was traded to the Knicks from the Phoenix Suns.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to take a brief break from the stream personally as I'm going to make like Jacoby Gillespie and do some quick relocation as it is my kid's bedtime. So I'm going to hand over the reins to Nick, and I'm going to be right back with you guys in just a second.
Love it.
Well, the good news about the No Ceilings crew is whenever we have one person need to drop out, we can just pop another right back in. So look who's back with us.
Look
Steven
who's back.
What is up, my man?
Oh, it's been a day, guys. Not to bore people because I know that they're not here to listen to me complain about my day, but
that's why
the draft, getting the draft stream was just like the icing on the cake for how my day went today. But I'm glad that I'm able to come back in some capacity at least for the show.
Well, we've had an interesting second round. A lot of I don't know. I mean, certainly, there's been quite a bit of discussion about how chalk the first round was, and I think the biggest news at this point, Steven, that we should ask you about is, of the guys at the top of the list, pretty much all of them went off the board pretty much right away. But there's one glaring name who's still available here in Henry Versar. So, Steven, what are your thoughts on the Versar slide? Because there was discussion about him sliding out of the first round yesterday, and now here we are at pick 47, and he's still on the board.
In my opinion, it's one of two things. One, that day one happened the way that it did, and now there's probably this is not Intel, so aggregator, you're gonna do what you're gonna do anyway. But I'm just asking you nicely to not to. It feels like there's probably some sort of steering going on. I think that could be in play. Or again, aggregators are you're going to do what you're going to do, but I'm asking you nicely to not to. Or there's just something coming from him as a prospect that we just don't know about, which I hope that's not the case, but this is professional sports and we know not to ever really be surprised by anything, so I hate to bring that part of it up, but it I don't know. I'm hoping it's more just camp management at this point.
Same.
Well, I'm glad you got to be a downer immediately upon hopping on the stream. That's good work.
I told you it's been a day, guys. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was basically, and I tried to mitigate this noise when I was like 10 picks ago. Maxwell asked basically the same question of, is this him deciding where he wants to go? I was like, ask me once we're out of the 30s. And now we're hitting the end of the 40s. And so that seems more and more likely that was the situation. But Mark Tatum is walking up to the podium and says the pick belongs to the Knicks. Who knows at this point? I think it belongs to the Knicks as far as we're aware, but we'll see.
It's not the guy.
Not the guy. Okay, so Steven, now you're the furthest ahead. So pick was Tyler Nickel, and so your reward for having the fastest stream here is you get to be the guy who talks about him first. So thoughts on the Tyler Nickel fit here?
I think that's just the kind of reward for dealing with the internet issues that I've had today. But yeah, Tyler Nickel to the Knicks. That's fun. There's going to be some sort of article about like Nickel spelling it like within the Knicks manner. I mean, it makes sense, dude. I mean, they adding the players that they've already had. We know that there could be stuff in play with Landry Shamet and, how they're going to manage all the money, how much assets are they going to allocate to Mitchell Robinson and things like that, to where Shamet's probably done enough to where if he wanted to go get a payday somewhere and be rewarded for the grind that he's been on and, get that little paycheck bump for being a world champion, he can do that. And, they got Tyler Kolek on the team, so maybe he rises up in the ranks naturally, but bringing in Nickel does bring in someone who is another, like, just knockdown floor spacer and just gives this team another wrinkle that could be needed, like that's one of the things that I learned so much in the playoffs this year was just that you got to play in a bunch of different ways, and the Knicks adding Tyler Nickel, I think, really helps them to do that.
Yeah, I mean, the Landry Shamet thing is just, classic. Team wins a championship and immediately, hey, everybody starts getting paid, right? It's like, credit to them, get your money while you're still able to be an active NBA player. But pick is in for Dallas. Jam, before we get there, any thoughts from you on the Nickel Knicks fit, which I'm sure will be a tongue twister for multiple people in the weeks and months going forward?
I'm not even going to try it, but I'll just say with Nickel, size and shooting is the bet. I'm always willing to bet on that, especially in the second round. Comes to a championship team where the role is simple. Spread the floor, be a floor spacer, and give what you can defensively.
Yeah, and, again, we talked about it earlier with Nickel, but, he's one of those guys who it's not, the classic Troy Daniels is always the example I bring up, right? And that example got even better when Nathan pointed out to me that for years and years I had been listing him as 2 inches taller than he actually was, which made my argument, a little bit more awkward. But Nickel at 6'7" with the compete level he's someone who certainly has a higher floor defensively, and I think the typical notion of, it's a 6'7" white dude who shoots the ball, right? Like there's more to it there than just sort of the log line of reading the anthro measurements. But pick is in for Dallas. Looks like Mark Tatum's coming up to the podium for me, which means Steven, you already have the pick. So
it is Jam. It's your guy. It's Toby. Toby to the Mavs.
Oh,
that's got to feel good, man.
It. Yeah, I'm glad he ended up there. I had heard that the Mavs had some interest in him and like what they saw him at the combine particularly. But you talk about someone absurd athlete is going to be an absolute vertical spacer, a gazelle running the floor, a threat on the offensive glass too, rebounds. And I really do believe in the shot. With his real touch, I think he's going to be able to knock down open jumpers and really be a huge help for the Mavs.
It kind of feels like they're doing the slap thing that Chicago was kind of modeling, right? Like getting Morez and now Toby Lawal. It's kind of slappy, isn't it?
There's slap elements.
Mm-hmm. Slappage.
Yeah. I did Toby's profile for the No Ceilings draft guide. Check it out if you haven't yet. NoCeilings.com/BigCartel. But in watching the Toby Lawal film for that profile, he is just so much fun. It's like you watch him and it's like one of those things where, I used to say this, and many people have said this in their lifetime about Vince Carter, of I would like to do that just once. Just one time, let me be able to literally fly like that guy. And, he does, it's one of those things where, and, not to throw anybody under the bus, but like there, constant conversations about Kristen Ack has all these crazy athletic tools. Why does he only block like half a shot per game? And Toby Lawal takes full advantage of his athleticism. And, it particularly shows up on the glass. He is absolutely impossible to stop rebounding. And it's one of those things where it's like, normally you don't think that about a 6'7" guy, but when he has like a 730-foot vertical, it's possible to grab those kinds of rebounds.
I also think like the Virginia Tech context was perhaps one of the strangest and least conducive to having a guy with those physical tools, where like it felt like so many players on that team were most comfortable just dribbling around the elbow and not, they didn't have a lot of consistent shooting. So it was a lot of like, okay, there's nowhere to really cut. There's not a ton of ways for him to leverage rim gravity, because like a lot of the bigs that they had just kind of were guys that had to stand under the basket. So it's like, it's hard to imagine a context where he could have won as many games, but had a worse construction around him for what he does specifically. Like, it's not a shot at Virginia Tech. It's just like it was not a situation designed to maximize what he does. And I just wonder, like, with NBA spacing, I feel like you talk about it with guards a lot, where it's like, well, with NBA spacing, and I think you have to ask those same questions about Toby Lawal.
It's a great point.
Yeah.
And I remember watching him too. Like Jam and I, when we were at Portsmouth together, we got to watch Toby, and there were so many times where like we would just like, like, did you see the thing that Toby just did out on the court? Like it's not just athleticism, like it's in-game athleticism, and that's like a whole nother level. And I like, as a second rounder, like you get a guy who can finish above the rim like that, to Maxwell's point, that rim gravity is going to open up the floor for everybody else too. Like it's a symbiotic relationship where like floor spacing helps rim running and vice versa.
Yep.
Yeah, so up next on the clock, I can't believe I talked about Tyler Nickel all night. And then the one time I moved is when Tyler Nickel gets drafted. It's a cruel and unusual fate. Denver is back on the clock here. This is a pick that has changed hands approximately 1 million times over the years. They went with Brazil last time.
I love that pick too.
Yeah, I kind of wondering, like, is that the type of thing they're to continue to lean into? Is it going to be another guy who's like going to bring a lot of athleticism, a lot of disruption? Could this be the Nkrumah spot? Is the guy I wonder about? Could it be a Tamin Lipsey location? Could it be Ogana Nietz? Like, there's all these guys I just kind of wonder about, where it's like, is this what they're going to look for around Jokic? Steven, like, what kind of direction would you take it if you're in Denver's shoes here?
Well, the first thing that I thought of with the Brazil pick was like, okay, is this like a very low cost potential like Peyton Watson insurance policy? Like, is there a little bit of that going on here? So I think you kind of have to go perimeter player at this point. Like, I know that the depth behind Nikola Jokic has been a topic of conversation for, it feels like 6 years now, but I feel like with the potential defensive stuff around the perimeter that we've seen from like Christian Brown being like the full-time defensive stopper and the limitations you have on that, getting a guy like Nkrumah seems to be the fit. But you guys are going to love this, and I just saw the pick. It's Bryce Hopkins.
Ooh.
Fenwick
Bit surprising.
Yeah. Man, Bryce Hopkins was a guy who surprised me a little bit at the NBA Combine. When I say that, I don't mean in the sense of like, he did stuff I'd never seen before or whatever. Like, he played like Bryce Hopkins, but he looked like a better version of Bryce Hopkins. He slimmed down. He was still, but he was moving quicker as a result of that. But it felt like none of the physicality went away. Like, he was still getting these violent spin moves where it's like he's driving the guy back, but there's also just a lot more snap and suddenness to the movement itself. A guy who's like still got to change the shot diet, a guy who's had a million knee injuries over the years, but like, what a great success story ultimately. Like, you look at the amount, and James Barlow talked about it, like on the pre-show portion, where like, you know, so much design is just about like being happy for these guys that realize their dreams. And for Bryce Hopkins, where it's a guy who like transfers out of Kentucky because it doesn't go well, and then has like 2 horrific leg injuries, has a great year, performs well at the combine, and here he is. Like, it's hard for me not to be, maybe this is my local bias, but it's hard for me to not be exceptionally happy for Bryce Hopkins.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's one of the most fun things about the draft is it's literally where dreams come true. Like pretty much every single pretty much every single person who walks across that stage has been dreaming about that moment since they were tiny children, like since their memories kicked in, right? And there are a few guys who we always talk about, of like the guys who got to basketball late for whatever reason. And so yeah, technically it's not true for them, but even for those guys, right, it's like if you're making it to the NBA, that has been something that you have dreamt about going to sleep every night for a significant, especially given how young these guys are, a significant percentage of your life. And now we get to witness that happen on TV and try and talk about it while we're here on a live stream.
Yep. And it looks like we might have some trade action potentially where Felix Akpara could be on the move to Washington.
Oh,
I love that.
Okay, so he's going to Washington. It's for pick 51 and pick 60.
So coming up.
Yep.
I want to about the Nuggets thing, and Jam, I'll ask you this. Something that they've kind of like emphasized like recently with some of their later picks is that like we get like the intelligence guy who is like feel over everything else. And with getting Brazil and now Hopkins, it's like, okay, maybe we need some more athletes who can kind of compete and get up and down the floor. Like, are you seeing it this kind of a similar way?
Yeah, I definitely am, especially someone like Brazil who is a ready-made play finisher and not just talking about at the rim, but also as a shooter too, and being able to work off of Jokic and then Aaron Gordon, obviously a good passer, and then be able to work just off the gravity of that two-man game with Murray and Jokic as well too. Work the dunker spot, attack closeout. So I really love the fit there.
Yeah. With Vesar at this point, is this a pretty clear like I want to go undrafted situation at this point? Like
has to be.
It's
you want
like,
to be 51st pick or pick your location,
Yeah, like no disrespect, but it's hard for me to be like, oh yeah, Bryce Hopkins like over him for sure. So
yeah, because I have him at 24. I'm just like, man, like scratching my head. It's like, what did I miss? So, but
yeah,
it seems like
I had him lower.
Okay.
I had him 37 on my board, but like even like this is ridiculous. Like I know that I was lower on him, but yeah, this is wild stuff.
I think I had a suspicion this could go down the second that he was not in the green room for day 2.
Mm-hmm.
I thought those those things where it's like, you go Brian Windhorst mode, and you're like, well, ask yourself why is he doing this? So I could definitely see that. Yeah. So on the clock next, we have Toronto with pick 50. Any leanings as far as where they'll go here?
Nope. Not a little bit of a clue.
The only thought I would have is maybe, if Vesar's not steering, which it seems like is clearly what's happening at this point, this would be a destination that would make sense. But
yes,
I agree. Yeah, because if you would have told me 24 hours ago they picked Vesar at 19, I would have been like, I wouldn't have done that. But that's okay. Like I see it. Norrin Rad making a great point here. Vesar could probably reclassify and join Baylor next season. He could even still get drafted and join Baylor next season. Them's the rules. Yeah, I feel like Toronto is like perpetually in a situation where it's like I think they could use a couple guys to get up more threes, or they could use like a little bit more backcourt organization. Like I felt like last year every mock draft we were talking about point guards here. But as deep as this guard class was, it feels like we're getting to the point now where it gets a lot dicier, where it's a lot more like Tim Lipsy, like Milos Uzan, where it's like you almost have to plug your nose at some of the flaws at this point. So very interested to see which direction they go here.
Jaden Bradley still on the board, correct?
That's a good one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good name, because that's literally who they just picked.
Oh, really?
Oh, there we go. Yeah. So Bradley was actually one of the few guys that was left on the board as a guard in that kind of preferred two-way range. So with Jaden Bradley, you are getting a paint touch dynamo, super high free throw rate. I thought he really developed as a passer, like really great head and eye manipulation inside the arc to look off and disguise like every single pass he threw. To have that kind of an assist to turnover ratio on a team that like did not shoot threes is really impressive, because you have to think about this. Okay, well then how many of those passes are through tight windows on the interior? One of those guys where probably the worst draw as far as combine teams went, and still really shined through in that event. The question is just like, is he going to shoot enough? A guy that, struggled at the rim, but that's pretty normal when you draw a ton of fouls. But 3-point volume's always been low, but over the course of his career, hit a lot of catch and shoot threes. Nick, where do you sit on the shot with Jaden Bradley? Because I think that's the big thing. It's like, he's big, he's physical, he's long, he's smart. Like, is the shot going to be there?
I would say I am cautiously optimistic, which is probably why he was the highest on my board non-Henry Vesar division at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, again, especially, now that we're in the 50s, like, I am quite confident that Jaden Bradley can be an NBA level third guard for, like, he could be one of those guys where we look back 10, 12 years from now. It's like, oh, he had a decade-long NBA career and he was the 50th hit, right? Like, he just fills so many gaps for a team. And so, the fact that he's a little undersized, the fact that the shot is a little bit inconsistent, I'm more concerned about the shot than I am the size. I mean, he plays bigger than he is, which I think is a huge part of that calculus, generally speaking. Yeah, I mean, it's, again, he was outside of Vesar, who, something is clearly going on that we're not aware of at this point. He was the highest guy left on my board. And it's because he can do all those sorts of gap filling things. And, as long as he can continue to generate the kind of rim pressure that he did at Arizona for Toronto, he's absolutely going to get the kind of playing time to be a long-term rotation piece.
Yeah, I think that's a real interesting wrinkle with him. Steven, I feel like Bradley was the guy that, we talked about years ago, like, as far as someone that was kind of slowly climbing up the ranks. What have you seen in terms of his development? Because I think with guys where they're 4-year players, it's like, what did they keep getting better at that can lead you to believe they might still have more juice? Like, can you just speak to his development as a player over the years?
Yeah, I mean, at Alabama, the interesting thing with him was that he was just a defensive dog, while he was over there. And then transfers over to Arizona. And then a lot of the questions were, okay, you could be a good defensive guard. We've seen this a million times, but how are you going to contribute on the offensive end? Clearly, the athleticism was there. Like, even though he is one of these, like, quote unquote smaller guards, like, the frame is pretty conducive for him to succeed at his size. And then I think, the scrappiness and ability to get to that mid-range shot. And that really opened up the rest of his game that he could continue to develop. Because as Corey always mentions, I love when Corey breaks down, like, the importance of a guard getting to the elbow. That opens up the driving, that opens up the stop and pop, that opens up the passing lanes that a guard is able to get to. And that's really the biggest thing for me, is just like his development overall. But it looks like Isaiah Nelson was the selection here that's getting shipped over to Orlando. Jam, I know that's your guy.
Yeah, it's good to see him get drafted. I'm actually surprised that he went ahead of Rafael Castro, as we talked about before. That I think they bring very similar elements to the floor with their defensive playmaking, the play finishing as well too. Can roam a little bit. They both have to be a little more disciplined defensively, but I think that's a great fit.
Yeah, Nelson is hard charging of a player as you'll find anywhere. Super high offensive rebound rate, generates a ton of steals. Another one of those guys like Castro, where it's like not a lot of guys that big and long who are also like a persistent passing lane threat, and he's one of them. And despite being really skinny, like, always gets after it on the glass. I was pretty impressed with how well he held up physically when they played high major competition this year. And the passing isn't good, and it's something that needs to come along. Like, he's not particularly skilled. The jump shot's something he's like flirted with but never really had, but he's okay at free throws. Like, one of those things is going to have to, I think, move along for him to like really stick. But I do think he's a sneaky, like, might give you some good energy minutes in year one guy. Steven, he was the guy that you saw in Portsmouth, correct? He was a Portsmouth guy?
Yeah, Jam and I both were.
What did you make of him in that environment?
It was really interesting because he wasn't, and Jam might take away obviously some different things, but he wasn't someone that stood out to me in like the obvious, like I'm leading my team in scoring right now and stuff like that. But there was a lot of like the intangibles that you could see him do, like communicating with teammates and stuff like that. But I think too, just like you know that he knows where to be on the defensive end, which is a big thing, obviously, with big men transitioning up to the NBA. Again, despite not being the biggest big man there, competed for every possession. Loved the defensive instincts and know-how. I think just the role is going to be simple with him, is that it's going to be pretty much arm's reach on offense, and then he's going to do everything that he can to make, as you always talk to Maxwell with big men, is like, the objective for me is to put the ball in the basket and stop other big men from putting the ball in the basket. And I feel like at a minimum, he can do that for spurts for a team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, interesting, like, scheme fit, too. Like, we know Orlando likes defense a lot.
I thought they were going to go on Yenso if they were going big man, which was kind of interesting for me. Like, I know that Vesar has hijacked the like steering where he wants to go thing, but
yeah, people are speculating that that's LA.
Yeah,
the Lakers, not the Clippers. I feel like that should be clarified.
Not to be
that's a
guy,
fair point.
but just to ask the question: is that speculation because there's something behind it, or is that speculation because when in doubt, the speculation is the Los Angeles Lakers?
That's a good
Fair
question.
point.
That's a very good question. And it's also the day that Austin Reeves signed a max, so everybody's like, "Oh, you know who did that?"
Yeah.
And it's the one guy it really worked out for. So yeah, I think that's interesting.
I don't know the agency connection though for Vesar either. Like, is there like shared agency among?
He's Wasserman, or was it Team now, or whatever
Yeah.
the new one?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. Yeah, I don't know too much about like the behind the scenes stuff with Vesar either. Like, I feel like that's not a guy that I heard anything positive or negative about throughout the course of the year. So I would assume, like, to me, it just reeks of steering.
Is that Fanta getting buckets on TV right now?
I miss. Oh yeah.
That's John
doing well.
Fanta getting buckets. He was
Fanta's
Wow.
floater game is elite. I would not have picked him as a floater guy. Like, if you
there's
told me,
nothing he's bad at.
Look, if you're telling me Fanta's stretching the floor and knocking down threes, I'd buy. If you tell me Fanta's going to work on the block, I'd buy. I didn't think he was a floater guy.
That was
I
the
didn't
in
comp.
between game.
I got to apologize to Fanta. I didn't think the Fanta in between game was not what I was expecting. I thought Fanta would be like a Maury ball kind of guy. I didn't expect Fanta to have the mid-range sauce, and he's got it.
Oh, the fall has stopped.
Whoa!
Really?
All right.
Wow. So yeah,
Okay.
we were right about LA. Just
I was wrong about the team. I'm gonna be
Now, why would the
I'm like the annoying kid in class who's like, "Can I get half credit for that one?"
Yeah, I deserve something here. Yeah.
Come
Yeah, I still kind of
This-
wonder if there was steering. I would hope there's steering
Yeah.
because the alternative is like something's wrong with.
well,
his
hang
body.
on.
Yeah,
Were there other?
exactly.
There was They picked Baba at 36.
Yeah, that was the first thing I was going to say is if it was steering, they already had a pick.
Interesting.
Mm.
Very interesting.
Also, the chat is blowing up with the notion that apparently this is being sent to Atlanta, potentially.
Oh.
Atlanta loves guys that are either a little too short or a little too skinny to play this.
Let me look. I can't remember if Atlanta has picked or
Perfect.
sent anything into the second round. Nope.
Not as of yet.
That makes more sense than the Clippers just
makes way
getting
more
him
there.
Yeah.
at that spot.
But if you're the Clippers, it's like
Because Vesar was linked to. There was some
Okay,
like
Clippers will
connections.
Clippers will trade 52 and 457. So the Hawks are getting Vesar.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the Clippers are on the clock 5 picks later.
I mean, they've desperately needed a center for a dog's age, so
Yeah.
sure.
That was a connection that I'm pretty sure we talked about, if I'm not mistaken, was the Atlanta Vesar. Or
Yeah.
maybe I've heard. Yeah.
Yeah, because there was
There's
a lot
been a
of
lot
talk-
of conversations.
Yeah,
I
there was
mean,
a lot of talk about them going big, and now you get like 2 bigs. So it's like
Yeah.
maybe one of them works out. Let's see where it goes.
He kind of fits Atlanta in like a very fun way too, where it's like they got some front court depth, but Onyeka has done well to like grow as a floor spacer, but
Yes.
I don't
think
know,
so.
like
Yeah, I
it's
feel
just
like,
so weird.
Yeah, he's an odd player, and I think we just haven't really talked about his game. We've talked about him a lot, but we haven't really talked about the specifics of his game. So Andre Vesar, 6'10", I believe 7'2" wingspan, but only 225. Was not as good of a rebounder this past season. Didn't block a lot of shots, a little bit stubby, a little bit easy to move around inside, but brings a real inside-out flexibility that a lot of bigs don't. He's got a little more pop off the floor than people would think is a roller. I love guys that are dynamic screeners, where it's when Vesar's setting a screen, you don't know if he's rolling and catching a lob. You don't know if he's popping. You don't know if he's popping and then making a great pass in the 4-on-3 that snaps out of it. There's just so many different ways that you can thrive offensively when he's the guy setting a screen for somebody. The question is, it's a guy with defensive concerns who's not the best mover, and he's light. So how effective is even the screen stuff going to be? How scalable is the finishing? There's a lot of questions that come up with him. I still think this fall is egregious. If this was not a steering situation, I don't get it. And I think
even if it was, how do you navigate the steer to be at pick 52 to the Clippers?
Yeah.
It's it almost feels like, okay, why is he falling this far? Let's trade into this spot so we can just get this guy who will fit us. Because I feel like if you trade into getting a second round pick to get a guy who's projected to be a first, I feel like that's one of the earlier moves that you do, right? I don't know. This is just a very, very peculiar.
Maybe the Clippers are willing to give more years or a guarantee, something different in the contract they had worked out. That would maybe be my best guess for why potentially steer to the Clippers.
And speaking of the other guy who we were talking about steering where he wants to go, Ugana Onyenso to the Houston Rockets. That is fun.
Well, that pick's going to the Knicks, isn't it?
Oh, is it?
Let's check.
That would be a crazy Mitchell Robinson replacement.
Yeah, a great one.
Yep, it is to the Knicks. That's right.
That's good.
Leon Rose, Worldwide West, doing work.
After getting some stash dudes, now they get the big man.
I also just love how happy and surprised he seems. I've never seen somebody in the green room be this shocked that they were drafted.
He does look pretty surprised.
Yeah, and shout out to Onyenso, because this was to me one of my favorite sneaky stories that developed in college basketball throughout the year. When I wrote my 5 interesting players on the margins column in January or so, it was hey, wait a minute, remember this guy that everyone was oh yeah, he's gonna be a first round pick out of Kentucky a few years ago, and then everyone just kind of forgot about him because he wasn't that good. It's I think he is that good now. He's the guy that we wanted him to be for a long time. He's blocking every shot. He is finishing inside. They really simplified his offensive role, which again, Nick talked about, it's some of these guys, you worry about the stuff they can't do, and it's stuff they'll never do in the NBA. With Onyenso, Virginia used him in that kind of a context. I think he's sneaky, not as good of an athlete as people think, but I think he has the fastest hands in this class. His hands move so fast that he's unbelievable at tracking the ball and just getting to it before guys even know he's going to swat it. So I like Onyenso. I think it's good value at 53.
I know this is Jam's Yannick Conan Niederhauser too, but Nick, what were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say this is right about the range where I had him, and it was entirely a situation of this is a guy who's never played 20 minutes a game at the college level. And, this is a guy who doesn't really have much of an offensive game outside of 5 feet, and he's gone to a team that doesn't care about either of those things, right? It's okay, we're going to play this guy 8 to 12 minutes a game. If Mitchell Robinson comes back, we wait for the 40-game stretch where he's going to be out with injury, and then the center tandem is Onyenso and Ariel Hukporti. It's one of those things where I honestly hope that guys like Onyenso go to teams that can use them the best, because when you're talking about a specialist like him, it's okay, in the wrong situation, he just never plays because the team that he's on asks him to do a bunch of things that he can't do. This is not a team that's going to ask him to do things that he can't do. And, that gives him every opportunity to be the best version of himself as a player. Cause it's just hey, the stuff that you're ridiculously good at, just keep doing those things, right? Just continue to play with that kind of motor, continue to just eat every shot that comes anywhere near the basket, and you'll be good to go.
How crazy is it too that the Knicks have done the most frugal thing possible by trading back, getting cash considerations and additional picks, and then you can still make the argument that they have somewhere of a Mitchell Robinson insurance and a Landry Shamet
Ooh.
insurance with Tyler Nickel and
This
Ugonna
pick is
Onyenso.
being moved to Detroit.
Oh,
So this
Oh.
is your Isaiah Stewart replacement right now. But some more front court depth in Detroit, which I am.
Which
really
pick? The Golden
Onyenso.
State or the Onyenso?
Onyenso.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Um,
Speaking of Detroit, I know we talked about them moving Beef Stew and potentially be doing something bigger. Like, what is that bigger move? Is it Jaylen Brown? Are they trying to get in that? And do they have enough? Like what is it? This is a real mystery right now.
I texted Bryce from Game Theory because I feel like he's like my go-to
Trey Murphy?
Pistons guy, and he was like,
Yeah.
I don't know, which made me be like, okay, I don't know if anyone will know that. Like,
Yeah.
I am really confused. Trey Murphy would be another interesting one because like it just feels like they need more two-way talent, like guys that can do it on both ends. Like it feels like that's a very tilted roster.
Exactly.
It's crazy, too, how powerful second-round picks have been within this year's trade market. You know,
Yeah.
like what you're couple just to get Wiggins. Like, why wasn't every NBA team trying to do that? You know,
Yeah, it's
crazy.
one of those ones where it's like I understand.
Lejeune Jones, someone
Oh,
who
yeah.
a lot of people didn't have getting drafted this year, but
Mhm.
Golden State getting Lejeune Jones, kind of an interesting player too. Like, I think a lot of people were expecting a breakout season from him this year, and Florida State was kind of interesting to say the least.
Yeah, Florida State, interesting context. Like we talked about Robert McRae a little bit earlier. It felt like there just wasn't anybody else who could really dribble on the team other than him. So it became like, Robert McRae, please do the offense for us. But Lejeune Jones like still has some really interesting traits. He's a long, athletic dude who had a block rate of 4, a steal rate of 2.3. He's an acceptable passer. Like he doesn't really make good reads, but he's not a guy who's like wild or out of control. But he's active on the glass.
Mhm.
He's offensively, like I think he's probably best as like a slasher. Like I love it when it's catch, 2 dribbles to the rim and a dunk. Whereas I don't necessarily love the shot. The shot's been something that's been like up and down for him, but the volume is good. Like I think there are paths where we look up in a few years and it gets a little Spencer Jonesy, where it's like, oh yeah, no, like we just overlooked the guy that had a big body and gets stocks and shoots threes. Like I think that's possible with Lejeune Jones. I think that's how you like sell yourself on it. But I think I'm just a little bit lower on the overall skill profile.
Yeah, I'm with that. I think a lot of us had expectations because of everything that you just laid out, Maxwell. Like that sounds awesome. I think a lot of scouts were hoping to see that at Florida State this year. But I mean, at a certain point, just like in the NFL draft, like sometimes you get keen in on traits, and it's like, okay, like if this dude hits at this certain pick, then maybe we get more value out of him. But I was gonna say they did hit with Will Richard last year, but that was kind of like you got a winning player on a winning team. It's pretty much the opposite of that this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting selection. If nothing else, and then I believe coming up on the clock next, it's going to be the Knicks pick that was traded to Houston earlier. So Houston on the clock. Kadir Copeland is a name that we heard for them previously. I wonder if that changes with Thornton. Yeah, a lot of different ways they could go. Nick, any way that you're leaning in particular?
I mean, Copeland is the highest guy left on my board at this point. And, you know, the thing about him as opposed to Bruce Thornton is he's 6'6", right? So the size related issues aren't as much in play with him if he ends up being the pick here. I mean, I know multiple of y'all got a chance to see him at Portsmouth, and I was not there. So, Steven, Jam, curious your thoughts on Copeland, because I think he's a guy that makes a lot of sense for most of the teams remaining here at this point.
Yeah, he really does. Just the size, the feel, the playmaking ability. Arguably one of the maybe top 5 or so playmakers at the guard position in the class. And Steven, as I mentioned before, I know you want to talk about him too, but he just did not stop talking to teammates, to referees, like all that type of stuff I absolutely love. shooting is obviously the swing skill for him, but there's a lot to like about him, especially in Houston, who still needs help from the point guard position and guys that can facilitate and make plays for others.
Yeah, I'll filibuster for a second because I have Tatum walking up to the podium, so I'll just call out what he announces.
I'm way behind.
But
Me too.
But yeah, I'm sorry. I don't want to get into the middle of a thought and then just automatically pivot. Nick Martinelli. So the Knicks have done
About
such
time.
a great job of picking players that you can have fun with the team name and their actual name. I don't know if that was a part of their strategy for tonight, but I think
It's too bad he's
it's
going
not
to
a
Clippers.
coincidence.
So he's going, it's going somewhere else, right?
Yeah,
Oh, I guess he's Clip Martinelli.
there we go.
At least he gets to wear the Knicks hat for the night.
Yeah. He can be a part of it. He can touch a championship hat for a little bit at least. The Clippers, man, like, what an interesting night. Baba Miller, I love.
Mhm.
Anybody could have picked that and it would have been like, I love that pick just because Baba makes so much sense. Nick Martinelli is also like low opportunity cost to get someone who is just like proven that he knows how to go and get buckets. Like, he's a professional scorer and you're picking him up here at what, pick 55, and I don't know, like
Yeah, it's
the
pretty low
Clippers have
maintenance.
done that with a couple of with it, like Jordan Miller from Miami, like, and he's been at least an interesting piece to kind of like monitor for his future in the league. You can probably make a similar case here for Nick Martinelli.
Yeah, he just finds ways to score that like don't require anyone to do anything. Or just like unique, well-timed cuts, like offensive rebounding. It's just all like he's really good at the gray areas. I think the issue with Martinelli is it's like, is he going to be good enough at the big picture stuff consistently? Is he going to have good technique on the defensive end? Rick, I thought his footwork was like pretty poor guarding the ball at times. He's not a guy who's disruptive because he's not particularly bursty north-south. Like, is the shot going to be consistent when it looks a little funky? Like, it's so odd. It's like you're almost like reverse engineering an NBA role player out of like, this guy is good at all the stuff when the game gets ugly. It's just, can he do the stuff that a wing is asked to do like a hefty majority of the time? And very interesting player. That was a tricky guy to scout for me.
Yeah, could he be the guy? Could he be more like the teammate that was drafted last year, like Barnheiser? You know, where like
Mhm.
you can just go out there and make effort plays, but Nick is a little bit more kind of an isolationist.
Mhm.
Those
I
are
don't
guys
know.
I've struggled with, like Jaime Jaquez as well too, like where there's potential question marks about the jumper and kind of overall athleticism. Yeah, that's one that I'm definitely trying to learn from.
I think this next pick, right, is for the Bulls, but it's going to the Lakers.
Yeah, I think
Nick,
that was
do
the
you
one
have-
I think that was the one they bought this morning.
Mm-hmm.
So they're buying a second round pick, Nick, like based off of everything that we've seen them do. Like, do you got any, like, how would you address where they should go with this pick?
I mean, you know, this was supposed to be Henry Vasar, so I don't know, like,
Yeah.
what's going on here? I mean,
That's a good point.
there's one player who stands out above the rest to me in terms of what I think the Lakers should do here, and that's Rafael Castro. Just, you know,
Yes.
they need a lob threat big man. They need an athlete who can, you know, play defense, run the floor, do all of those sorts of things. And Castro is a pretty much picture perfect fit for what they would want him to do. And a little more juice with, you know, the ball in his hands, you know, both as a handler and a passer than most guys his size. I think he'd be a really interesting pickup for the Lakers here. And then, you know, if they go big man, but go in a different direction, I'm wondering if Nate Biddle gets drafted. Just a team thinks, you know, not the highest ceiling, but the floor is high enough to be worth taking that chance on. But looks like the pick is in even on my end. So
It Veselwald
Oh.
Ishenko is the
There we
selection
go.
here for the Lakers.
Mm.
Yeah, interesting guy, a guy who has really started to pick up steam as a stash candidate.
Yeah.
Intriguing player. Like, I don't know that I buy it. He's really skinny. Another one of those guys where the shot looks extremely funky. It almost looks like he's shooting with two hands. So
Yeah.
that combined with low volume from deep has me like not really buying it. But I ultimately get why you would stash him. There's some really slick passing deliveries. He's a guy that's listed at like 6'8" and is going to play the 2-3. Anticipation, like ability to not fall for counters on defense was all stuff I liked from him. But again, like one of those guys where like the on-ball defensive technique is odd. Like one of the things I had in my notes is that he runs everywhere. Like he doesn't slide his feet. It's like it's time to turn my body and run to what the next place where I'm going. So I think like the physicality of the shot, it's like if you watch like the highlights, he's one of those guys that seems awesome. And then like the deeper you dig, the more it's like, oh yeah, this is a stash guy. But can you do worse for a stash guy? Absolutely. I think it's fine.
It's interesting too because like I feel comfortable talking about this just based off all the other intel mocks that I've seen, but this was a guy who was rumored to go significantly higher. I know a lot of people had Dallas like kind of pegged as a team that was.
He's being traded to
There we
Dallas
go.
too.
Coincidence? I think not.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. You know, he was heavily linked
does.
to the Mavericks, and it looks like everybody had the intel correct, just probably at a different location. Yeah, good move for them too, because to your point, Maxwell, like interesting perimeter player bet who give you a couple of years overseas, but just a guy who can run up and down the floor, and that's kind of fitting what the Mavericks have prioritized so far.
So what happens to the Lakers? Do they just get cash for nothing at this point? Like, but actually, seriously, like they bought this pick earlier today, right? Like, are they just, do they have someone who, maybe they buy one of the next 4 picks coming up, but
I think
That
this
is
is Luka
very
tax. This is
interesting.
Luka tax, right? Like, isn't this what?
yeah, I'm sure. No, this actually the Lakers are the only team getting punished for the aspiration situation. They're losing a 2nd round pick here. No, I'm just confused. Like, what is the deal here of buying this pick? Like, they have to buy one of the next 4, right? Like, I don't think you buy a pick like that if you haven't made a promise of some kind.
Yeah, let's answer the question here in the chat real quick. Good Hair 420. This was kind of a confusing moment, right? Where the Bulls were selecting for the Lakers for the pick that they bought earlier today. They drafted Veselov Ovchenko from overseas and then immediately shipped that player over to the Mavericks for, it seems like, cash considerations, who is winning the draft, by the way, cash considerations.
Also,
a lot of
great
moving
podcast
parts.
hosted by Ricky O'Donnell for Bulls fans. So, let's see what we've got here. Okay, and then we do have Brett Siegel saying that the Vesar thing was a promise and guiding situation.
Okay, this is just
Unique.
weird to do it at 52.
Not how it's normally done. Yeah. But who knows? There could be all sorts of collective bargaining agreement things that I don't understand.
Yeah.
So, so up
On the
next,
call-
this
Go ahead,
is a
Maxwell, sorry.
Clippers pick, correct?
At least
I
for the
think
time
so.
being.
We're at that point in the night, folks. It's hard to follow. Clippers, anybody that we're really digging here? I think I'm trying to think. If everyone could reveal the highest left player on their board, I think it's Malik Lewis for me.
And
But if we're not
Nkrumah
considering guys,
for me.
okay, yeah, if we're not counting people
Yeah.
that might be like medically flagged, it would be Kadir Copeland.
Same. I have
That's-
Copeland
yeah.
at 39.
Copeland at
I
40.
have Nkrumah at 34. I have Copeland at 39 on my board. And then Rafael Castro at 47.
Yeah, I
And then
still like
Jaden
a
Hanley,
Castro.
49.
Yeah, still like a Castro, still like a Cashew Nat, still like a Tucker DeVries, still like a Kate
I was about to
Tyson.
say, Maxwell, we're at pick 57 and Tucker DeVries.
The
is
Tuck train,
mentioned
might be
Yeah.
running out. The Tuck train might be running out of steam, and it's breaking my heart. I've been riding the Tuck train for 5 years, and we're gonna ride it right into a 2-way contract and eventual rotation minutes. So we're staying
Maxwell
on the
got
Tuck
to the
train.
point to where there's no more coal left to shovel in, and it's either him being the coal or just getting off the train at this point.
Yeah.
You know, at the start of the stream, Maxwell actually had like ankle length hair, and he's just been shoveling it into the Tucker DeVries train all night.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that that Tuck gets picked up here.
Mhm.
Neither
I know
Indiana
some
guy
people are
is-
bringing up Sellers being undrafted is crazy. I know that there was like some hype on him. He had a good like little Portsmouth showing, but
He did.
nothing about him was really like, oh, like I have to have this guy in the second round for me.
Mhm.
I agree. He was the guy that like at the combine, like he had one of those games where he scored like 20, and it was just like, but what are you gonna do that like translate?
Yeah.
Like it's just very like
Exactly.
I'm gonna dribble the ball for a long time. Like I felt like him and John Blackwell had like similar style combine performances, but like one of them just made their shots and the other didn't.
Yeah. And he's
and
very
Sellers-
strong
look,
too. Great
Sellers makes his
athlete.
shots a lot. Like he
Mhm.
the efficiency is wild. But it's just like the James Bouknight corollary where it's like when the usage is that high and the assist rate's that low, it usually just does not pan out. So
What you never want to hear is that's the James Bouknight play. That's,
yeah. Yes, I've just like never been a Sellers guy.
Mhm.
I feel like I've seen that type of player year over year, and like it just doesn't super hit.
Yeah.
Let's see who we've got on the clock. It looks like it's gonna be
They're filibustering right now. I'm just
Okay.
expecting this to be some sort of trade. It's like the pick is in has been on the screen for a long time.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, very intrigued to see where that would end up. And I believe there's an international player still left in the second round green room as well, which it's like that's another thing. Like it seems weird that you would
Yeah.
do if you were.
Mhm.
Is that Naom or is no? That's a mini. A mini
No,
is the
Mini,
other
yeah.
guy, right?
Yeah, it's me. Yep. So I would
I
think
got
he's getting picked.
I got Tatum walking up to the stage on my feed.
How are you so far ahead of us?
Again, it's my internet company trying to make up for me being out of internet for the past 3
They-
hours. So
They definitely are.
shout out Xfinity.
That's the one time Xfinity works is immediately after an outage.
It is
Yep.
Narcisse Ngoy.
Of course.
Yes, the French forward from France.
Yeah, well, I
He
have a
played
lot of takes
basketball
on
this
him.
year.
I have a lot of takes on him, but I actually want to hear your guys' takes first, just to
Yeah,
see
of
if they line
course,
up
of
with all the
course.
things that I saw on the tape that I watched.
Yeah, of course, the French forward from France who played basketball
Yes.
this year.
Uh,
Yeah,
do,
Narcissus, remarkably selfish player. I mean, wait, hold on.
so the step profile is like kind of sick, 67.8% from the field.
hmm
Fran Fraschilla is just ripping on TV right now, like he's
he-
just been waiting for this for his whole life.
He's pumped. 11.5 rebounds per game.
hmm
Assist to turnover ratio underwater, which is not uncommon for bigs in that league. 2.4 blocks per game. So
Yeah.
one of these guys where it looks like he's, at the center position, going to rebound a lot, going to block a lot of shots, and going to finish. So a guy who would appear to have a role, if nothing else, and probably a worthwhile stash to see if the feel and the free throw shooting and things like that can come along in time.
For sure. It has a
Ignacio, if you're
good
watching,
frame,
come
too.
on.
Yeah, I know. Get on
Ignacio,
in
where
here.
are you? 4 offensive rebounds a game in that league is insane.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy numbers, like
Yeah,
the
that's
worthwhile
literally bad.
swing.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah,
Oh no, we got
no, not Maxwell.
Not you too. No.
Am
It
I
should have
back?
been me. Yeah, you're back.
There
Yeah,
Okay,
you're
cool.
good.
All right, Pelicans are up next on the clock. Where do we think this is headed? Like Pelicans, one of the most unpredictable front offices.
And
No.
Maxwell, one of the most unpredictable internet streams. Is this going to be Trey Murphy and 58 for Atlanta's first round pick next year?
It could be.
It could be. I think I was like trying to pull up clips of the French guy on Synergy. I think
Mhm.
that's what was destroying my internet. So I'll stop doing that.
Everyone hopped on Synergy at the same
Yeah,
time.
exactly.
Like, who is this?
Yeah, we're gonna crash Synergy. Like
Like, if no one on this stream knows who he is, then like, I don't know. You
Google searches for Narcisse have never been higher.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah.
Google trends for Narcisse absolutely blew up.
Yeah, Pelicans up here. This is one. of these-
Boise Reeves would be fun.
Oh, that'd be a cool
Mhm.
one.
I think Cade Tyson, if you're still looking for some shooting and size,
Yeah,
makes
I love
sense here.
One guy that I still have like in my like two-way range we haven't talked about is Elijah Mahi.
Yeah.
That's a fun.
I'm
guy.
kind of low on it. Like, I wish his season this year would have been better, but again, like the context that he was in, Baylor is such a tough watch, like year over year.
I think Jaden Henley deserves a look at this point too, so we'll kind of see
Suitor.
what happens. Yeah.
All right, pick is in. I got Tatum at the podium.
Let's
Shout
see.
out Xfinity. Jaron Pierre Jr.
Wow.
Oh.
Weren't we
Jam,
talking
go
about
ahead
him
and
when
rip on our
Metcalf was
guy.
on?
No, another guy that helped themselves, you know, throughout the pre-draft process and can score. My only thing with a guy like that is like, what exactly is the role? Are you going to be coming off the bench to score? Can you really play off the ball? What's the defensive type of profile there for you, despite some of the frame and everything? So I'm curious to see how that plays out.
Yeah, a guy who's had sort of an interesting path. Like a lot of players this draft, he's older. He's going to turn 24 in a couple weeks. But yeah, like started at Southern Miss and was like fine. Goes to Wichita State. Doesn't have like a blowaway stretch there. Shoots under 40% at each of his first 3 college destinations. Pops back up at Jacksonville State during the 24-25 season and just like all of a sudden he's shooting the cover off the ball. He's like running the offense. He's doing all this different stuff. And he's a big time runway athlete. Like he's one of those guys where I think it was at Portsmouth. I was like texting with you guys about it where it's like his vertical wasn't that good. And it's like, I don't care. Like, I don't care that that's a bad vertical because like I've seen him posterize people mid game after driving from the 3-point line. Like I don't care. But yeah, high volume 3-point shooter, good athletic traits, seemed to reel in the like what scared me at Jacksonville State was like, is this a guy that just dribbles 85 times every time he touches the ball? His passing vision was just okay. I thought he made strides there. Defensively, I'm not a big fan of what he brings to the table, but I think anytime you have a guy who's a good athlete and can shoot that well, like they might do something.
Yep.
For sure. I think that he kind of fits like the way that the Pelicans like to play too. Like coming out of SMU, he just that's really good regional scouting. I feel like if you're looking for a guy who on the margins kind of fits the way that you want to play the game, I feel like that's like textbook regional scouting. Like head over to SMU from New Orleans. You've probably watched him almost as much as any other team not in Texas. And identifying someone who fits that up and down nature that they want to play the game, I feel like that's just awesome work for them. Metcalf's Timberwolves are on the clock.
Is he going to come back
Metcalf,
for this pick?
you're watching who you taking here. Lamar Wilkerson is another name who I don't know if we've talked about. Could be an interesting pick here. Get another good floor spacer to kind of help that aspect of the team out.
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah,
we've talked
there's still
about
some
him and
good
Lindsey
names.
much either. And certainly when, the Isaiah Evans pick happened, the one thing that, Metcalf was talking about was like, would be nice to have someone who can have the ball in their hands a little bit more than Evans. And, there's a bunch of Copeland in the chat. Yeah, I mean, I think for 3 out of the 4 of us, maybe all 4 of us at this point, Copeland's the highest guy left on our board who hasn't been picked. So would love to see
Nkrumah's
him
my
there.
highest, but yeah.
Okay, Nkrumah's your highest. I mean, really at this point, we've only got 2 picks left, right? So I'm looking at all of the sort of can handle the ball kind of guards that are still on my board, like Chase Ross, Xavier Lee, Kylan Boswell, Milos Uzan as well, who I think we talked about a little bit earlier. Any of those sort of ball handler types would be nice for them to pick up. And it's going to be a deep bench player at this point anyway, right? Just get someone who's going to potentially play minutes for you.
Yep.
Well, Tatum's walking up to the stage for me, so Steven, that means he didn't pick 5 seconds ago. So
Metcalf is going to love this one, folks. Trey Kaufman-Wren to fill in the Julius Randle-sized hole that they have on the team now.
Yeah, with TKR, look, I know we're not going to have very exciting comps when we get into this tier of the draft, but a a guy like Tolu Smith, right? He didn't have the most, one-to-one NBA profile that teams look for in a center, but he still ended up getting like a standard contract at one point because he's just like kind of too good to not be an NBA player. It's like you put him in the G League and it's like, all right, well, this is dumb. This is a waste of Tolu Smith's time. And then he ends up on NBA roster. Like, coming out of the combine, that's kind of how I felt about TKR, where it's like, I abhor his lack of balance. I despise how rigid of a defensive mover he is. I was out on TKR. And then he was really good in Portsmouth. And then I saw him at G League Elite Camp, and he was really good. And I'm just like, you know what? I think he's just really smart. I think the 70% on floaters or whatever it is like somehow not a fluke with him.
Yeah.
And he can really pass, and he's strong, and he's going to rebound. It's like, look, like, would I use draft capital on him? Like, probably not. But it's like, is he going to be better than a lot of guys that are like having draft picks taken on them? Yes. Like, I think there's just like sort of an undeniable talent level, even if I just don't see how he ever plays in a playoff game. And like my personal philosophy is like you just kind of got to swing high and like take the kind of guy that you can't get for cheap later. I think TKR is going to be a guy you can get for cheap later. But I think there's a good chance that he just like is around.
Oh, wow. John Shepkovich says the Clippers have selected Ngoy with the 57th pick. The French 7-footer was named Pro B MVP and will be stashed in college next season at Auburn.
Oh,
So that's why they were showing
Oh,
Auburn
man.
on broadcast earlier, because like they were showing center at Auburn. I was like, I do not remember a guy named Narcisse Ngoy playing for Auburn this year.
yeah.
It's like,
Draft and
I
stash
guess
at
that's the
college is
deal.
wild. I wonder if they're going to start allowing that for domestic players.
They got to
Yes.
figure it out.
Because otherwise, next year's draft is going to be an abomination. Because with 5 and
There's a
5
lot of
passing,
interesting international dudes next year, too.
thank goodness. Because otherwise, next year is going to be a lot of like who are the 10 redshirt seniors in college basketball. Like it's especially like I don't know, like if the Vasar deal isn't like guaranteed and lucrative, like everyone's going to get gun shy and want to go back to school, and the draft will like have 3 players in it.
Shams is already dropping like where undrafted free agent two-ways
sick.
are going right
Well, I've got to
Already
do
on
the,
it.
I've got to do the undrafted free agent roll call, so that works for me.
We've got the Isaiah Thomas Award pick left, and that's the only pick left on the board. So if you want to tip picks, first of all, please don't. This is your last chance, and we've held strong up to this point.
Shout out to the chat, by the way.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes,
honestly,
thank you.
Y'all.
we love you. Like we love
Yes.
being in the mud on day 2. Like me, Jam, Steve, and Nick. Like this is what we're here for. We're here to get in the mud. It wouldn't be fun if nobody else was in the mud with us. If you see a puddle of mud outside and you jump in it, people are like, "What's wrong with you?" But if everybody's getting in the mud and having a good time, look, even if it's not mud, even if it's a Woodstock '99 situation, you can still have a good time. You can still have fun with your friends.
I think one of those is slightly more fun than the other. Just
Oh,
And shout out Puddle of Mud.
I
It's
could
not
be
fun
wrong.
with it.
I could be
Yeah.
wrong, but just reputationally, I think.
and shout out to Puddle of Mud. Blurry is a divorced dad banger of a song.
Yes. I was actually singing it today, and someone mentioned the divorced dad. They actually said depressed dad, and then they said, "No, I meant divorced dad." And I did the Patrick from SpongeBob. What's the difference? You know, we had a big laugh out of it.
But yeah,
We're
shout
done.
out to you guys. Like again, like this is what we live for year round at No Ceiling. So the support that we get from you guys is what makes this all possible. It allows us to do so many cool things, like go to Portsmouth, go to the NBA Combine. Like we could not do it without all of you. So thank you all so much for joining us as we wait for Pick 60. Who do we think Pick 60 is going to be? My top guy is still, I think it's still.
I'm gonna
Malik Lewis
guess
or
some.
Castro.
I think it's gonna be Noam Yakov getting drafted and stashed
Stashed
at
at
Utah. hmm
Just see that, yeah.
Oh, we got Tatum coming up.
Oh, here we go. The annual 2026 Isaiah Thomas Award winner goes to,
They're filibustering because it's the last pick, so they're thanking all the people who,
of
as they
course.
should,
Oh,
like the
someone
people who
mentioned
were in
Amini
attendance.
too. Amini's in the green room. It could very well be him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When in doubt, there's one player left in the green room and one pick left in the draft. That's
Could
usually
you imagine
what
being
they
Mark
say.
Tatum and you're just like staring at the one dude in that room?
It's like you got to
well,
stare down. You got to stare down Amini and then say, "Kylan Boswell." Sorry, good night, everybody.
Get home safely.
Exactly.
All right, they're finally getting around to announcing the pick. It is Malik Lewis,
Oh, yeah, there he
Malik,
is.
New York, who
Steven
I
New
had
York.
ranked. Where did I have him at? 48th. He was 48 on my board.
There
Yes, standard contract tier guy for me at pick 60. Steven, you kind of rewoke me up to Malik Lewis when he got the Elite Camp invite initially. Like, he was a guy that I didn't really keep as good of tabs on as I should. And then you sent me the text and you were like, go watch that Malik Lewis tape. What were you seeing that got you so excited and ended up getting me excited?
Yeah, and Jay Gyro in the chat says good player but scared of the heart condition. Like, I totally understand it, right? Like, if a team is concerned due to the medicals, obviously, like, do your due diligence. But just watching him play was like the 3-point shot was like so true this season, which really opens up all the great things that he does off the ball, like as a movement cutter, hustle player, rebounder. Is more of a smart player on defense than he is like a breakout, impactful playmaker on the defensive end. Like, he's not a tremendous athlete, but I wouldn't say that he's poor either. It's a sharp player, like at his size. He's like 6'7", 6'8", somewhere in that neighborhood, and he can just space the floor for you. He's built like a tank, cuts to the basket, plays hard, won't get killed on the defensive end, like would fit decent in a team construct if like everything works out at its high end potential. Like, those were the things that I just saw as like a NBA sized player who can shoot and hold his own on the defensive end. Like, you can't go wrong betting on players like that.
Yeah, I'm a big Malik Lewis guy as well. Any parting thoughts from the crew as we get prepared to take in the influx of UDFA deals?
I'm just going to announce the two that I've seen right now. AK Okekere, Okereke, thank you. 2-way deal with the Los Angeles Lakers. Trey Donaldson, 2-way deal with the Miami Heat is one that I'm seeing. And those are the only two that I've seen announced so far. So, Maxwell, I know that you're going to bang out a fun article that's going to let people know like who we should be paying attention to.
Yep, and God bless John Kepchovich from Draft Express, who every year RookieScale.com has a UDFA tracker that allows me to keep track of all of that. So I use that, and then I'm going to write words, and I'll just say, oh, Rafael Castro to Milwaukee. I'm moving to Wisconsin now. It's the best day of my life. Very excited to text my nephew about that one tomorrow morning.
Shout out Ignacio for the intel.
A killer on the way. So love that one. But that'll wrap it up for this year's 2026 NBA Draft Stream. Again, thank you all so much for supporting No Ceilings. Still buy the draft guide. The draft guide is still for scale. If you want to learn about players that were taken tonight or that you're not as familiar with, go get that draft guide.
Because you're going to see him in Summer League.
Exactly. Can use it for Summer League.
Yep. Yeah. Make sure you are subscribed to us on all platforms. Subscribe to the Substack, YouTube, Locked On NBA Draft with No Ceilings, all those places. That'll do it. So for Jam Hines, Nick Agar Johnson, Stephen Gillespie, I'm Maxwell Baumbach. Thank you so much for joining us.